Yep. So we're going to wait another minute for Commissioner Hughes to come back. So thank you for your patience. Did you read our thing yet? The fire, no, the fire. I'd also. Chief, I know it's your day off, but I don't think I recognize you with your without your uniform on, and when you're sort of. Oh, okay. Well, all right. Not a day off, a vacation. Well, thanks for being a part of this with us. All right, here we are. It is Monday, July 27th, and today is our regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. We are ready to go. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hank Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Adam Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Camila Bustamante.
Present.
Commissioner Lisa Kakari Stone.
Present.
And Chair Justin Green.
Thank you. I am here. Thank you very much. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and a state pledge, please? Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you. We have our land acknowledgement and would like to acknowledge that this place that we now call Santa Fe was known and is known as Ogopoge, or White Shell Watering Place. We recognize that this is the ancestral land of the Tewa people and part of a larger sovereign landscape of the Hickory, Apache, Navajo, and surrounding pueblos, who have cared for this land for thousands of years and continue to do so today. We are guests in this land. Thank you. Thank you very much. Moment of reflection. If we, Elizabeth, please do the honors.
Let us take a moment to focus on the work ahead of us today, being ever mindful of our decisions and in the best interest of our community. We take a moment of silence.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, is there anyone we would like to acknowledge today? Did we lose anybody in our community? Thank you. We can be seated. We have an agenda before us. Are there any changes by staff? County Manager.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. There are no recommended changes to the agenda as presented from staff. I would just note that we did post the amended agenda for today's meeting on Friday, July 24th at approximately 11:23 a.m., which is more than 72 hours in advance of today's meeting as required by the Open Meetings Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager. Are there any changes by the board?
If there are none, I'll move to approve, Chair.
Excellent.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson to approve the agenda, and we have a second from Commissioner Bustamante. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we have an agenda. Fabulous. Moving on to item 1H, years of service retirements and new hire recognitions. County Manager Shaffer, please.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I'm going to start by recognizing those employees who retired during the month of June, and then going to acknowledge those new employees who were hired during the month of June, as well as recognize the addition of a volunteer firefighter. Then going to acknowledge those employees with service anniversaries of 5, 10, and 15 years. And then finally, I'll conclude by acknowledging those current employees who are celebrating the 20 and 25-year anniversaries with Santa Fe County. With regard to that last group, I'm going to ask them to come forward when I read their name in the hopes that they may be able to take a picture with county commissioners celebrating those significant 20 and 25-year anniversaries. So starting with retirements, we had 7 employees who retired from Santa Fe County during June of this year. In the county assessor's office, Ronald Bransford retired. 2 individuals in the sheriff's office retired, Jennifer Munoz and Edward Webb Jr. In the public works department, 2 employees retired, Lorena Acosta Sanchez and Larry Gonzalez. In the fire department, Renee Nix retired. And then finally, in the finance division of the county manager's office, Gabriela Trujillo retired during the month of June. So we wish all of those former colleagues the best in the next chapter of their lives. With regard to new hires, we had 14 new employees and 1 volunteer firefighter join the county team in June of 2026. In the corrections division, we had 3 detention officers, Pedro Archuleta, Shandy, I believe, or Sandy Grider, and Andres Velasquez. In the county assessor's office, Santos Valdez, and 2 employees in the county manager's office, 1 in the finance division, Allison Gillette, and 1 in the IT, Thomas Romero. In the fire department, Joshua Sanchez joined the team in the wildland program, and we had 6 employees join the public works department, Jennifer Sintas, Maria McClure, Gary Padilla, Dylan Madrid, and Emiliano Mendoza. And finally, Daniel Mays, all in the public works department. And in the sheriff's office, Ethan Barnes joined the sheriff's office as a Sheriff Deputy 1. And then finally, Charlie Moreau joined or achieved a level of certification that would enable Charlie to be entitled to the volunteer stipend and is therefore being recognized as a volunteer firefighter. With regard to 5, 10, and 15-year anniversaries, the RECC department, Ana Bastillos, is celebrating 5 years with the county in public works. Sarah Rodriguez is also recognizing 5 years. We have 1 employee who is recognizing 10 years of service with Santa Fe County, Mary Tencio, with the corrections department. And we have 1, I believe, a total of 5 employees who are celebrating 15 years with the county. In the community services department, Josie Atalano. In the corrections department, Adrian Garduno, and also in the corrections department, Richard Roybal. In the county assessor's office, Steve Salazar, and in the public works department, Julian Gutierrez. So again, want to recognize and celebrate their years of service. With regard to those who are celebrating 20 and 25 years of service with the county, and again, I'd ask you to come forward as I read your name. In the corrections division, Jacqueline Lopez and Jonathan Silva. In the finance division, Roxanne Lujan. In the fire department, Samuel Patty and Jeremy Renda. In the legal department, Rachel Brown. In the public works department, Marciel Rodriguez. In the sheriff's office, Justine Calabaza. And in the county manager's office, Camille Garule. So just wanted to, again, ask those celebrating 20 and 25 years to come forward to be acknowledged specifically by the board and hopefully have their picture taken with the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Shaffer. I'm going to go first just to say thank you for all of you that have been here for 20 and 25 years. Thank you for the newcomers, the new hires, for committing to Santa Fe County for a little while. and to everybody who's done great work with us over those anniversaries of 5, 10, 15 there, and especially those who achieve retirement, because God knows I don't think very many people get to do that these days, so good for you. So, thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to everyone standing up here. Thank you to the new employees, to people who have really stayed on. It's important for us. The commission is not here for as long as you all have been, so your institutional knowledge, your expertise are what keeps the county humming, absent our own, whims over here. So we really appreciate it, and thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes.
Yes, I just want to thank you all for your service. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Bustamante, please.
First, I just want to commend you for sticking through this as long as you have, because what I see in front of me are dedicated people. I don't think, though I know it's in the back of your mind, that it was always about we're going to get to retirement, but you've really been committed, and I'm grateful for your service. Having been in and out of this building, in and out of things that work with the county, I'm grateful for your work. So thank you for sticking with it, and enjoy your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kakari Stone.
Yes, I just want to say congratulations. Enjoy your retirement. It's hard earned, and public service is the best thing you can do to give back to life and society. So celebrate. I hope you celebrate. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Kakari Stone. Once again, thank you. It's pretty amazing. Some of you keep us out of trouble. Some of you fight fires and save lives, and some of you are there making sure that the roads are right and everything's moving. It takes a team, and all of us that are in this room are a great testament, and you guys get the awards for today, but thank you to everybody that works for Santa Fe County. Thank you, guys. Please join us. Photoshop Commissioner Kakari Stone later. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Hold your certificates up, please. 1, 2, 3. All righty, and now we move on to the Employee of the Quarter, the second quarter of 2026. County Manager Shaffer, please.
Thank you, Chair Green and Commissioners, and thank you for being so generous with meeting space and time to recognize our workforce and our team members, without whom we can't accomplish anything, and all of their service, again, is at the heart of what we do on a day-to-day basis for our constituents. So again, I appreciate very much you allowing this space and time to recognize their service. Looking at the Employee of the Quarter, second quarter nominees, going to identify who the nominees were by group and ask them to come forward if they're present as I do so. In the support services group, Kristen Martinez was nominated and is being recognized for her outstanding leadership, reliability, and unwavering commitment to the fire department. She stepped up during a critical time to ensure operations continued seamlessly demonstrating the professionalism and dedication that make her such a valued member of the county team. In the support services group, Crystal Garcia is being recognized for her exceptional customer service, professionalism, and positive attitude. She consistently creates a welcoming environment for coworkers, partners, and the public, making a lasting impact through her kindness and dedication. Also in the support services group, Jessica Casillas in the HR division. Jessica is being recognized for her exceptional support of county employees through benefits, leave, and wellness services. Her knowledge, patience, and commitment to helping others have made her a trusted resource and an important part of the county's continued success. In the community services group, Charity Valdez, a DWI compliance monitor supervisor, is being recognized for her exceptional dedication and perseverance while managing the county's compliance program during a prolonged staffing shortage. Her commitment to maintaining high standards, supporting the team, and serving the community reflects the excellence we strive for at Santa Fe County. In the Public Works Group, Isaac Montoya, maintenance technician, is being recognized for the pride he takes in maintaining county facilities and for the professionalism and attention to detail he brings to every assignment. His initiative and commitment to quality help ensure our facilities remain safe, clean, and well cared for. Also in the Public Works Group, Miguel Valencia Duarte, maintenance technician, is being recognized for consistently going above and beyond to ensure county facilities are maintained with professionalism, care, and attention to detail. His proactive approach, strong work ethic, and commitment to quality make a positive impact on both county operations and the people that we serve. In the Community Services Group, Jerome Tafoya, Fire Prevention Specialist, Urban Wildland, is being recognized for his outstanding leadership and dedication during several recent wildfire incidents. His ability to coordinate resources, build strong partnerships, and protect our communities reflects the very best of Santa Fe County's commitment to public service. So please join me in recognizing the significant contributions of all of the all of the Employee of the Quarter nominees. And the Employee of the Quarter, second quarter of 2026 award goes to Jerome Tafoya, who Chief Black will be accepting this award on Jerome's behalf.
Great job, all of you. Commissioners, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you to everyone who is nominated. It's always great to hear a little snippet of the hard work that you do for the county, and I just want you all to know that we really appreciate it, and we wouldn't be where we are today without you. So kudos.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes.
Yeah, we really appreciate all you've done. I've seen your names in various emails. It's nice to see you in person. And especially thanks to Jerome Tafoya for getting the award of the quarter. That's very special, for very special work. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Bustamante.
Thank you, Chair. You know, the one thing that really struck me as they were reading each of yours qualifications for this particular award is that the work that you do really matters to people. Like, this matters. And I think that is something you can feel absolutely amazing about, on top of being recognized as someone who is absolutely stellar in delivering and working with people for something that matters to their lives, because every little thing we do contributes to what folks are doing to live and how our county serves them. So thank you so sincerely very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Kakari Stone.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm just in awe, and you are dedicated, amazing people who make the county who we are today. As I always say, together stronger. Thank you for your service, and congratulations, Employee of the Quarter. That's a big deal. I hope you celebrate tonight with your family or friends.
Or coworkers, that's right. Oh, yeah, or by, that's right, or in just, so. You know, I do appreciate all of you. It's great. Some of you I see in emails across, you know, Jessica, I think we see you come all the time. You really have an internal function of keeping us all as a family, and there's an appreciation there. And then in Isaac's case, you're like, you've worked here months and you're already the employee of the corner. You know, I think there's got to be a record there for the fastest time to recognition as employee of potentially being nominated for that. So great job. But all of you, amazing, right? This is a great team at Santa Fe County. I love being here. I think you show that you love being here, and we recognize your hard work and appreciate everything you do. So thank you so much for being here and being part of our team. Let's all take a picture together and celebrate you, and thank you so much. Thanks. Fabulous. Moving on to item number 2, matters of public concern. 3 minutes for folks from the community that would like to speak to something that's on their mind. I know we have some people online and we have some people in the room. Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak here? Please come forward. Seeing none in the room, can we go to the folks online? Who do we got?
Mr. Chair, we have Chris Michelle's.
Fabulous. Excellent. Mr. Michels, please take your 3 minutes and tell us what we're up to.
Tell us what we're up to.
Oh,
Mute. There we go. Hello, Commissioner, Chair, and Commissioners. I've got a couple of items here today, which the usual ones I'll just mention because they are usual. You're in violation of your rules of order, as you usually are, and you seem not to care. And you even specifically, item 10 should be where the county manager applauds his employees, not before the public concern, which is where it ought to be given your own rules of order. The other one you continue to violate is OLMA, of course, because you should have brought the June 30th minutes for approval on July 13th, and you failed to do that. Therefore, that puts you in violation of OLMA, which seems not to trouble your county manager or your county attorney very much. The other one, the big item today is public concerns. For people to sign up for the public concerns, today, if you follow the process, and you probably haven't looked at it, it actually requires any speaker to go through a process of being approved by the county staff under something and agreeing to something called the Code of Conduct, which, as far as I can tell, they made up. You have never approved any such thing. You need to look at this, because what you've set up is a situation where the county staff can just decide not to let somebody speak if they don't like what they're going to say. And you have no control over that because they've taken that control to themselves. So please take a look at that. That surfaced on the 1st of April when you went to the new diligent cloud system, and some wise head just decided to change all the rules about signing up for public comment. And you apparently don't care. So maybe you should. The other one, which is ongoing, is resolution number 2013-120, which specifically says, please look at it. I mean, you can find it if you want to. What 2013-120 says specifically that the public input should be sought on action items, and that the public concerns on the agenda should be there, but it should be reserved for non-action items on the agenda. That is very specific. This is 2013. It is something that the last time the county manager briefed the commission on your duties back around 2015, he conveniently forgot to mention to you. This is a resolution. It is your resolution. You should follow it. It's a legal obligation that you follow it. You don't seem to care. 2030-120. You're refusing to follow your own laws and your own resolutions, and you continue to do this on and on and on. I'm troubled by this, aren't you? You should be. You've all sworn to the law. It doesn't seem to be, and it doesn't seem to affect you at all. That should trouble you. Anyway, have a good day.
I appreciate your timeliness, Mr. Michels. Thank you so much. Is there anybody else online that wishes to speak?
Mr. Chair, there are no other users online wishing to speak.
Thank you so much. We will close that item and move on to approval of the meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes from June 30th. Actually, before we have the special meeting for the 24th, let's do June 30th. Are there any changes? Nope.
I see no changes, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from June 30th from Commissioner Bustamante and a second from Commissioner Hughes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we have meeting minutes, and I do want to acknowledge that those were Karen's last minutes with us, and we appreciate her hard work. On to item B, request for approval of the June 24th special meeting minutes. Anything up with that? Any corrections?
Move to approve.
We got a motion from Commissioner Johnson
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Hughes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none. Thank you so much. We have meeting minutes for June 24th. Okay, consent agenda. Did we move everything from the consent agenda off? I guess we did. Then we have a legacy recognition. So we'll move on to legacy recognition. Commissioner Kukari Stone, tell us about Chris X.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want to see if Olivia Padilla is in the chambers. If not, no worries. I think she's online with us. Also, I want to confirm if Arthur White, the brother of Chris X, are you online with us or in the chambers? Arthur White?
Mr. Chair, Mr. White is online. He is a call-in user. If you hit *6, it should unmute for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. White, for joining us. Chair, members of the commission, public who are present today. This is a recognition of the legacy of Chris X. Let me say a little bit about Chris, who is and was a resident of the Camino Jacobo community. I met Chris when I first came to Santa Fe County and took an oath of office, and we were part of celebrating. There's Chris. Chris is exactly how they are in their photo, always building community, sense of humor, an organizer, and did whatever they could do to improve the quality of life and celebrate life with the community. I was very taken by Chris's lifelong advocacy, resiliency, authenticity, compassion, and commitment to everyone around them. I wanted to also recognize that Chris was raised in New York, actually was an activist during the AIDS movement and the AIDS epidemic, and really made sure others had dignity and quality of life. Chris pursued their passion for performing arts and attended the college in Florida, was also very engaged in the College of Santa Fe in performing arts and performed with the Academy Award winning actress at the Greer Garson, with Greer Garson themselves at Greer Garson Theater. Chris, as I mentioned, was part of the Camino Jacobo community. Some community members wanted to join us today, but they're out of town or on vacation with family prior to the school starting. I wanted to show deep respect and gratitude for Chris and honor their life. Chris personally touched me, and I'm very saddened to have Chris pass. And Mr. White or Mr. White, I welcome any words you'd like to say about Chris.
Go ahead, Mr. White.
Mr. White, if you hit *6 on your phone, it should unmute for you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Chris has always tried to make a contribution wherever he has been, but I think his feeling for the community at Camino de Jacobo was particularly special. And on behalf of my sister and then Chris's daughter, I would like to thank you all for this recognition. I know Chris would appreciate it, and we do. And he was a special individual, and we'll miss him. And thank you for taking the time to recognize him.
Fabulous. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. White. Thank you. I don't know if any other members of the commission knew Chris, but I will miss Chris during the holidays. Chris wanted to put a pumpkin patch pole in the Camino Jacobo community for Halloween, and this year that pumpkin patch pole with pumpkins on it will be there. I will bring one over myself, and we'll celebrate their life.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Well, may it be resolved that the official minutes of the Santa Fe Board of County Commissions reflect the board's lasting tribute to this remarkable human being and resilient spirit, Chris X.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. On behalf of his family, thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll get an original copy if you let Olivia know who to get the signed copy to once our BCC members approve and make a motion for approval unless there's comments from the chair or other commission members.
We have a motion from Commissioner Kokari-Stone.
I will second it.
And a second, Commissioner Johnson. Other further discussion?
Briefly.
Yes.
Just briefly, thank you, Commissioner Kokari-Stone and Mr. White for speaking. I didn't know Chris, but they seem to be a remarkable individual, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, Commissioner Kokari-Stone, I appreciate this recognition for folks that are important in our community. And as we gain momentum to this, others like Chris X, I hope we bring them forward to acknowledge their impact on our community. We have a motion from Commissioner Kokari-Stone, a second from Commissioner Johnson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, Chris X. We will miss you.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Olivia, Mr. White, and family. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to item 7, appointments and reappointments. We have none. Over to miscellaneous action items. We have item A, a resolution to amend Resolution 2025-075 for all statewide elections to 2026 and 27 to replace a polling place voter convenience center for consolidated precinct number 3, replace polling polling place and voter convenience center for Consolidated Precinct 16 and add a potential polling place, voter convenience center for Consolidated Precinct number 21. Rosangela, how are you?
Good. Chair Green, Commissioners, good afternoon. Rosangela Ortiz, Chief Deputy Clerk, Bureau of Elections, and together we have Steve here, Steve Fresquez. He's our Voting Systems Admin and Warehouse Manager. So this afternoon we have 3 changes to our resolution, and these are Election Day changes. The first change is moving the polling site from Powaka Valley High School back to its original site, which is the El Rancho Senior Center. That was supposed to be a temporary solution. Now that El Rancho Senior Center is back, we would like to make sure to move that site there, as it is more convenient for the voters as well. This next change is Christian Life Church will be moved to Lafarge Library. We want to thank Christian Life Community for letting us use their facility for so long, but now they're going to become, what was it, Steve? They're going to become a daycare center. Yes, so we're going to take this opportunity to move just a few minutes down the road to Lafarge Library. They have a great location for us. And then lastly, in the Madrid Cerrillos area, we want to make sure to have 2 locations there, just in case one isn't available. So we want to have both the Madrid Fire Station and the Cerrillos Senior Center. So those are the 3 changes, and they will take effect once they get approved here, and then also there needs to be a court order to approve these changes. So these are all the changes. We stand for questions.
Thank you. Commissioners? Commissioner Bustamante?
No.
Oh, you were pointing at your button. All right, Commissioner. So I do have a question. When you have those 2 options, at what point will you make a decision as to, and how will we know that it isn't option A, option B, or option A and B?
So we have it as an and or, and so right now the change is just to have both of them there. Right now the community expects to have Madrid Fire Station, and so unless we give notice to the community, then it stays as what they know, which is the Madrid Fire Station.
Okay, just to make sure that there's no ambiguity, can we make sure that we have a robust, not only pre-communications, but if it is or, and it isn't at one, or even if it is not at the one that might have been, that we put a sign on it so that people know where they can go and not wonder when they show up?
Yes, we definitely will do that, and we have done that in a few places like Hondo, and we will now do that at the high school. Even though people didn't like the Powaka Valley High School, we're definitely going to have signs there making sure they go to the ones in the area. Mm-hmm. And actually that area has the most polling sites in all of Santa Fe County. But yes, we'll make sure to have proper signage, and we also send out postcards to individuals, and we'll make sure to create social media awareness, and then put it in all the community pages as well.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much. Commissioners, what is the will of the board?
Like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve a resolution for the statewide elections. Motion from Commissioner Bustamante, second from Commissioner Hughes. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. You've got some polling places.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item 8A. Oh, we get a resolution.
That is Resolution 2026-98.
9A. We'll get to 100 in a minute. Good for us. All right. Item 8B, a request for approval of a developer assistance program funding award recommendations. Jonathan Butler and Denise Benavides.
Thank you,
Take it
Chair
away.
King, Commissioners. Today I come before you as a member of the Community Development Department requesting that the Board of County Commissioners review and approve the Developer Assistance Loan Funding Awards for 3 housing developments with affordable housing components. if approved by the board, the county manager will issue and execute a letter of commitment to the awardees, and county staff will endeavor to negotiate transaction documents with the awardees, the terms of which will be subject to future board approval. A little bit of background. On July 23rd, 2023, the board approved resolution number 2023-083 and ordinance number 2023-05, which formally adopted the county's 2023 Affordable Housing Plan and Housing Assistance Grant and Loan Ordinance pursuant to the New Mexico Affordable Housing Act, NMSA 1978, Section 6-27-1. And the Affordable Housing Act rules. The Affordable Housing Plan identifies the need to expand affordable housing opportunities through financial assistance programs and partnerships, while the ordinance establishes the county's authority to provide grants and loans for qualifying affordable housing projects and to administer affordable housing funding programs. The New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority reviewed and approved the resolution and ordinance prior to board approval to ensure consistency with state law and regulatory requirements collectively. The resolution and ordinance allows Santa Fe County to provide various forms of financial assistance to private or public entities for the creation of affordable housing projects within the county, so long as each project meets a community housing need as identified in the county's affordable housing plan. Bear with me. On October 10th, 2023, the board approved Developer Assistance Program regulations via resolution number 2023-106. The Developer Assistance Program, known as DAP, is intended to provide financial assistance for the creation and implementation of affordable housing projects. For the purpose of DAP, an affordable housing project is defined as any work or undertaking, whether new construction, acquisition of existing residential housing, remodeling, improvement, rehabilitation, or conversion, which provides housing to persons or households of low or moderate income as defined by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and MFA. In fiscal year 2026, the board budgeted $3 million to provide gap funding to affordable housing rental developments in Santa Fe County through the DAP program. This is the second funding round for DAP, expanded to include both rental and for sale affordable housing projects. The $3 million consists of the following: a $2 million grant from the Department of Finance and Administration, DFA, to plan, design, construct, renovate, and make improvements for housing projects in Santa Fe County. The grant money must be spent by June 30th of 2027. In addition, DFA has confirmed that the appropriation language does not complicate the making of a loan. $1 million in county general fund previously allocated for affordable housing programs was also allocated. In May 2026, the county issued a notice of funding opportunity for affordable housing support issued pursuant to the county's Developer Assistance Program for affordable housing projects that serve households at or below 80% of area median income for the Santa Fe metropolitan statistical area. The NOFO intended to support an affordable housing development pipeline in its jurisdictional area and to address the community's shortfall of affordable housing as identified in the county's 2023 Affordable Housing Plan. The county's goals and objectives for the NOFO included increasing affordable housing for providing critical gap funding, as well as assisting development projects in becoming more competitive for state and federal housing resources, providing subsidies to projects to enable projects to serve lower income households, funding the construction of new rental units, which will prioritize and accept tenants who receive federal, state, or local rental subsidy, encouraging high-quality affordable housing development that complements the aesthetics and character of the surrounding community and integrates with the surrounding community uses, increasing capacity for nonprofit and public entities engaging in affordable housing development, and encouraging the set-aside of units for households that need services to remain housed, often referred to as special needs housing in the New Mexico Qualified Allocation Plan. The NOFO imposed various caps on potential awards, specifically $10,000 per unit and $2 million per project. Additionally, the NOFO stated that eligible uses for the 2026 DAP would include acquisition of an affordable housing project site, construction costs for an affordable housing project, the rehabilitation of an affordable housing project, the conversion of an existing structure into an affordable housing project, infrastructure necessary to support an affordable housing project, or as low-interest capital financing for an affordable housing project. On May 1st, 2026, the county received 8 applications for the 2026 DAP program. Applications for Nueva Ecija 4% and Nueva Ecija 9% were subsequently withdrawn, both because the final funding gap is not known and because county staff felt it was more appropriate to meet these projects' final needs through a direct allocation rather than having the county's own project compete against other projects. The remaining 6 applicants were as follows. The first was Lincoln Avenue Communities for the rehabilitation of Anasazi Village and Casa Vita. The second was Santa Fe Civic Housing Authority for the Acate project. The third was Utilities Development Group, Utilities, sorry about that, San Ignacio Flats. The third was Carlos Gallegos Jr. and Uno Mas LLC for the Uno Mas Zia Estates de Santa Fe development. Douglas Ottersburg for Villas de San Isidro, and HomeWise for the Terra Contenta Phase 3A project. Staff formed a review committee with representatives from the Public Works Department, Finance Division, Growth Management Department, and the Affordable Housing Division. The committee reviewed all remaining applicants and completed its evaluation, developing recommendations for the board regarding potential loan funding awards. The evaluation criteria used to verify the projects were worthy of funding and were as follows. The review committee evaluated each applicant using separate scoring criteria tailored to rental and for sale project types. Each scorecard was calibrated to the same 200-point maximum, allowing the committee to make a general comparison of project merit across application types. The criteria allocated 75 points to project feasibility, 50 points to development team experience, 20 points for nonprofit or government development participation, and 10 points for environmental design and sustainability. The remaining 45 points were available as supplemental criteria specific to each project type, rewarding commitments such as local trades engagement, special needs set-asides, right of first refusal, long-term affordability covenants, and income target depths. Projects were strictly competing against one another, and scoring framework ensured each project objectively merited support on its own terms. In addition, while points were assigned, some criteria served in essence as pass-full criteria, and county staff prioritized providing gap funding and project readiness. With regard to the $2 million grant from DFA specifically, it was imperative that the project be able to spend the $2 million by the June 30th, 2027 deadline. A summary of the review committee's recommendations, including proposed award amounts for each applicant, was provided in Exhibit A for your review. Where less than the requested amount was awarded, staff confirmed with the applicant that the amount provided was sufficient to complete the project or a defined phase thereof. With regard to the proposed $2 million award to HomeWise, county staff proposes to use the $2 million grant from DFA and to make the award as a grant. In addition to being consistent with appropriation language as interpreted by DFA, A grant makes sense in this instance because the award will be used to construct infrastructure that will ultimately be owned by the city of Santa Fe. Recommended $500,000 award to Anasazi Village and Casa Villita and Acate Santa Fe will be made as low-interest loans, cash flow only, with a land use restriction that matches the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority's affordability period requirements. The interest rate and term of the loans will be determined based on the needs of the project prior to closing. Loan underwriting will follow MFA's guidelines when possible, as they are considered best practice for affordable housing financing in New Mexico. Where possible, making awards as low-interest loans is important to future development of affordable housing, since loan repayment will provide resources with which to make further awards for other affordable housing developments. Following approval of the Developer Assistance Program awards by the Board of County Commissioners, the county manager will issue an executed letter of commitment to the awardees. Therefore, county staff will negotiate all necessary transactional documents with awardees, the terms of which will be approved by the board at a future meeting. At this time, the County Development Department does recommend approval of the Developer Assistance Program funding awards defined in Exhibit A and authorize the county manager to issue the letters of commitment to the selected awardees. Any final transitional documents will be presented to the board for approval at a future meeting. The awardees recommended are Homeyes for the Terra Contenta 3A development, Acate for Santa Fe Civic Housing, and Lincoln for the Anasazi Village and Casa Villita Rehab Project. I want to go over just a few of the details for each of the projects. I'm going to start with Lincoln. I want to go over Anasazi and Casa Villita. So Anasazi is going to consist of 115 units, all for families. This is a rehab project. It's a LIHTC project. It's also going to have 106 units for seniors only of 55 plus years of age. That's for the Casa Villita project. These are all 1 and 2 bedroom units. They are in process of completing their capital stack. They have pretty much the entire capital stack allocated. This $500,000 will complete that gap for the rehab. I'm going to move on to Acate. So the Acate development, you may or may not remember, for Santa Fe Civic Housing was awarded in the first round of awardees, $600,000. They requested another $600,000. The county is recommending $500,000 for this award. This is gap funding. They did have a similar issue that we had with Nova Sequia, in that just the cost of materials and things caused them to go into gap. They also had an issue with the engineer who passed away, so that provided some issues for them in completing the final project. They do have $60,000 left over from their draw from the first round, so that will allow them to complete the amount that they need. So us awarding them the $500,000, I did speak to Ed Romero. He was extremely appreciative and happy with that award. So he's really good. With the Terra Contenta for this particular project, oh, and I do want to mention briefly, Ed Romero's project is also income-based. The number of units that he's going to be providing are by AMI. So what he's going to be providing as far as 30% of AMI for him, he's going to have, oh gosh. So 30% of AMI, he's going to have 4 units, 50% no units, 60%, 24 units. I'm so sorry, let me go back. So 1 bedroom units, he's actually going to have 5. at 50%, one at 30. Two-bedroom, he's going to have one at 30, 10 at 50, 24 at 60. Three-bedroom, he's going to have one at 30, 9 at 50, 5 at 60, and no four-bedroom. For Cheta Contenta, this one is HomeWise. This one is a huge development. They were requesting spine infrastructure to complete all of 3A. The $2 million that we decided to award them was because we felt as though this would breach their gap in having a conversation with HomeWise. The other reason is because they can use the funding by the deadline of June 2027. This particular development has 5 phases. This is phase 3A. This particular development has the ability to produce between 1,300 and 1,500 units. Affordable, HomeWise is going to build 400 on their own. They are going to sell portions of the property to other developers to allow other developers to come in and build some affordable housing. The unit mixed for the Cheta Contenta project, they do have 95 two-bedroom, 175 three-bedroom, and 130 four-bedroom as their unit mix. With that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Denise. Commissioner? Commissioners? Commissioner Kakari-Stone? Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Denise. I appreciate the in-depth presentation for this. I think that this is a program that we support on the commission, and things like Tierra Contenta, we want to see these built out. So I want to thank you for running the program, for vetting the applicants, and I think it goes without saying, but we encourage, for example, the applicants that were not awarded to return to us, and I know that you and your staff do a good job of sort of prepping people to be poised to win funding. So this doesn't close the door, and I'll make a motion when it's appropriate. Thank you.
I'll second. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a motion.
I move to approve.
Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Bustamante. I do want to say that I'm very proud of this this program. I did want to ask a couple questions about, some of these projects. I did see that there was a requirement that it was up to $10,000 per unit. So was that based on the affordable units or based on the total units?
It was based on the total units, Commissioner. Right now, when we did the first round, we kind of saw the total unit cost a little bit all over the place. Actually, now it's stabilized, and they're all within that particular $10,000 per unit cost from what we saw from their submittals.
So some of the folks that did not were not selected here had big asks for some smaller unit levels of affordability, like 6 units out of 30-something units or something like that. Was that one of the disqualifying factors of that, or how did those?
Chair Green, no. What happened with the other units, Ulysses, for instance, that's going to be a partnership that we're going to work together with them on. Their particular development is next to Nueva Sequia, and we just felt they were the next on the list. The points were just a little bit lower, and part of it had to do mainly with where they were with the project submittal to the city, and there were a few other things, questions on the pro forma and a few other things. We haven't talked to them specifically about why they were not chosen, because we kind of wanted to announce the awards first. But we are highly encouraging them in the next round. We feel like they should be further along. They had indicated that in 2027 they'd be much further along. So we hope to be able to assist them maybe in the next round, but also partner with them on a few other things. Since this particular development is next to Nueva Sequia, we have scheduled a meeting with their entire team. They want to talk to us about some of their possible programs and partnerships that they want to make with the county in the future. With the other two, one of them, the Uno Mas, that one was an all modular, and it wasn't modular mobile home, it was modular homes. They weren't ready as far as the capital stack. They indicated they were shovel ready for them for the project, but not quite the capital stack that was required to move them forward. They were missing some documentation in the application. Most importantly, the pro forma was missing, so that made it difficult to make a determination actually as to where they really were with the project. And with Doug, Mr. Doug and I have been working together on this project, particularly for quite a few years. He's finally moving forward with the project, but it's a rent-to-own project. So again, it made it a little bit difficult for him to put together a capital stack. And he did have a pro forma. However, it did make it difficult as far as him knowing how to price those particular units. And they are mobile home modular, again, to be put on a permanent foundation. However, based on the type of funding he's gotten thus far, it would not allow him to sell those units for a period of years. And so, again, his funding stack just wasn't where it needed to be right now. But again, we will be encouraging those and working together with them that did not get an award this time around. We will be encouraging them to continue to work together with us, and hopefully at the next round, we can move them forward.
Great, thank you. Yes, Jonathan?
I'll just add one more comment to Denise's remarks. I mean, really the motivation for the selections was based on projects that were shovel-ready and projects that were more in alignment with gap funding. And so with limited tranche of resources and the great projects that were presented, we do expect that if we do another run, we will encourage applicants to reapply when they get closer to that threshold. But that was the determining factor for the recommendations.
Okay, so in terms of shovel-ready, they're turning dirt over at Uno Mas. We approved them just a few weeks ago, and I drove by it last week, and they literally have graded the site already, so that seems pretty shovel-ready.
You've got two different tranches of resources.
Yeah.
One tranche was for $1 million, and that was based on the rental platform and portfolio. And then the second tranche of the $2 million was based on homeownership opportunities. And so that's sort of the distinction in terms of thinking through the funding allocations and the recommendations based on that. I don't know, Denise, if you have something else to add to that.
Thank you, Jonathan. No, Chair Green, just with the Uno Mas, we really did have conversations with the agent to see what we could do to assist them to move them forward, because we also know that it's an important project for a lot of the clients out there in the lower AMIs. However, again, there was missing documentation. Most importantly, the pro forma really made it difficult for us to make any kind of a decision. So I did talk to Nathan Manzanares and just discuss with him a little bit about the application, the process, what he found difficult about it. He did bring up a few concerns. So we are speaking with the Uno Mas team, and so they're going to move forward even without any allocation. However, it was just the missing documentation, the capital stack. It wasn't clear to us that they had the funding. It's an individual that is trying to do his best to get some affordable homes out there. He's not, a large developer per se. And so we felt the need to have a conversation with them to see how we could assist. So we're going to continue to work together with them as we move forward. It is a 20% of all 20% affordable development, which is also, something that they don't have to do, but they wanted to do. So we're going to continue to work together with them and see what we can do to assist.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Bustamante, and all in favor say aye.
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 Thank
Any
you.
opposed? Hearing none, let's go build some affordable homes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Lofton, for being here, and please build accessory dwelling units with those things in one-bedroom sizes, if possible. Moving on to item C, a resolution requesting budget adjustments to correct classification discrepancies in the local government budget management system and increase appropriation in various funds. Yvonne Herrera, please take it away.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the resolution before you is the final budget adjustment for fiscal year 26, which is to correct crosswalk classification errors excuse me, of previous approved resolution bars, specifically resolutions 2026-001, 067, and 069. The funds were not correctly classified within the state's LGBMS system, causing balancing errors between LGBMS and the county's accounting system. The second component of the bar is the final bar. In the final bar is to increase the expenditure budget for medical RX claims in the self-insurance fund. During the month of May 2026, the county experienced significantly higher than anticipated medical claims, exceeding the proposed budget for fiscal year 26. As a result of the county's stop-loss coverage, most of the excessive fund claims, almost $4 million, were reimbursed to the county in June and July of 2026. The net budget increase is $280,000 to the self-insurance fund. As a result of the excessive claims, fund balance is being used to support the unreimbursed portion of those claims and to bring the self-insurance fund back into compliance with Resolution 2026-082, which is the committed fund balance resolution. A transfer of $1.5 million excuse me, from the general fund is being requested. And with that, Chair, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Yvonne. Commissioners. Bless you. Bless you again. Commissioner Kakari Stone, sorry, I can't see if you have your hand raised.
Hi, no questions.
Excellent. Commissioners, what is the will of the body?
I move to approve the budget adjustments.
Second?
We have a motion from Commissioner Hughes, a second from Commissioner Bustamante. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, you have some budget adjustments and a
Thank you,
resolution
Commissioners.
number.
Yes, 2026-99.
99. All right, next one's 100. Here we go. Item D, a resolution to approve the county's fiscal year 2026 fourth quarter financial report for submittal to DFA, Local Government Division, and a component of the fiscal 2027 final budget submission. Yvonne, you're up again.
Thank you, Chair. The Finance Division is requesting the board approve the fiscal year 26 fourth quarter report as a requirement of the submission of the 2027 final budget to DFA. The Finance Division is required to report quarterly financial information within 30 days of the end of each quarter to DFA. The approval and certification of the county's final budget for fiscal year 2027 is contingent on the fourth quarter financial report being formally approved by the board and submitted to DFA by July 31st. This report contains information on the unaudited revenue, expenses, and ending cash and investment balances for the county as of June 30. The ending cash and investment balances on the fourth quarter report are used as the beginning cash balances for fiscal year 27. And with that, Mr. Chair, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Yvonne. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Kakari Stone?
No questions on my end, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just only question, this is how we're getting even closer to finalizing that budget forever, right, for the year?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bustamante, what was that?
This is just one step closer to the next item. This is part of that, to have it, the approval of the 2027 budget.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bustamante, correct, yes.
Thank you. I'd like to make the motion to approve item D, the resolution to approve county's fiscal fourth quarter financial report.
Fabulous.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Bustamante, a second from Commissioner Johnson. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, one step closer to item number E, letter E, but we do need
Yes.
a resolution number.
Yes, 2026-100.
Woohoo! 100. All right. All right.
Celebration. Mr. Chair, the final resolution is requesting the approval of the final budget for 27. The final budget includes the approved interim budget, the capital budget as presented on June 26th, and the adjustments to correct, improve budget efficiency and/or alleviate operational delays for previously approved budgets carryovers as listed within the memo. To confirm, the board recommended changes like funding the libraries, support for services identified by the full board, countywide cultural sensitivity, implicit bias, and anti-bias training, and outreach relations, communications needs, public safety, staff mental and physical health studies, as well as $10,350,000 for permanent supportive housing is included in this budget. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Vaughn. I appreciate all the work you do in this budget. It's a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and this is it. Here
The
we are.
woman's work.
With everybody else included.
Yes,
Mr. Chair,
it's-
Commissioner
yes.
Bustamante, including Manager Shaffer. He doesn't get enough credit. He really doesn't.
Given
He's
that
right
it's
there in the
budget,
trenches.
I would recommend that you make.
I-
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
given that this is the budget and it's been woman's work, I'd really like to make the recommendation that you make the motion. And anyone else can second. I'm not going to. I just think
All
it's
right.
important that you as chair do this so that we can make a big, warm deal out of it.
Let's make a big deal of it. All right. So I will make a motion to approve our budget for the 2020 fiscal year 2027 budget. And thank you, Yvonne, and County Manager Shaffer and everybody involved.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate it.
And I'll second.
We have a motion by myself, a second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion?
Well, I think just to thank you for putting so much work into this and all our requests.
Yes, second.
Thank you, Commissioners. Chair. Appreciate it.
All right.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to add appreciation. Thank you.
Excellent. This is great. And yep, so motion by myself, second from Commissioner Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, we have a resolution, we have a budget. 101.
Yes, resolution number 101.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We can take 5. So just for reference, we are going to start the presentations with the Santa Fe Forward because we have Director Lamboy from the City of Santa Fe here, but we are going to take 5 minutes because Commissioner Johnson wants 5. All right, it'll be 10. All right, this is a quiet room today. We are here for presentations now. We are going to start with item B, a presentation from Santa Fe Forward from an update to the City of Santa Fe's general plan. Director of Land Use, Heather Lamboy, is going to be giving this. I asked her to give us this for a variety of reasons. First off, I've been advocating for an update to the general plan since I served on the Planning Commission of the City of Santa Fe close to a decade ago. It's long overdue in their case, but also because we have a bunch of best practices that we can learn from them and insight that we can learn from the City of Santa Fe as we go and update our own general plan or SMGP or SGMP, sorry. And Director Lamboy, thank you for coming here and spending your afternoon with us. We look forward to hearing your presentation, and please be ready to answer a few questions if you can.
Great. Thank you, Chair Green, members of the Board of County Commissioners. It's nice to be here this afternoon. Thank you for giving me some time to talk about the general plan update. The first thing I would like to do is provide an overview of what I have done in the past. It helps to inform how I see this project needs to proceed. And in the Tampa Bay region, I worked for a regional planning authority. And in that regional planning authority, I served as part of the Hillsborough County team. And so what is really special about a county is that there are a lot of distinct, unique communities with lots of different types of personalities that the commission serves, the staff serves, and it really makes for a rich environment. The City of Santa Fe is part of the county, and so therefore, we shouldn't be thinking just in terms of our long-range planning, in terms of the City of Santa Fe, but it's a political boundary, and we're all one community. And so the county staff, I would like to express some gratitude to the county staff because we've been able to have regular city-county planning issues huddles. We meet every month and talk about the different planning issues we have. Our county staff, Alexandra Ladd, the growth management director, as well as Herbert Foster, who is heading the long-range planning team, they're part of our technical working group that's associated with the city's planning commission and a special group of technical professionals with the city as we proceed through this process. So we really feel it important that we engage the county in this process. And I think there's a lot that our city staff could learn from the county staff, and a lot I'm learning, like the Bajada Village community plan from county staff and my interactions with them. They do great work. So the Santa Fe General Plan was last adopted in 1999. Dare I admit that I was part of the team back in the 90s that was here when the general plan was being drafted at that point. We adopted approximately 400 different goals as part of that aspirational plan. We did accomplish a lot in the past 25 plus years, but there's a lot of things that don't have metrics, and it's really important to be able to have that checklist and state, yes, we did accomplish this, no, we didn't accomplish this, but this is the reason why. So just to go over the schedule of where we are right now, Stage Gate 1 was information gathering and an assessment report. The assessment report was really critical. We didn't just study the area within the boundaries of the City of Santa Fe. We also studied the areas adjoining the City of Santa Fe, which included El Dorado, sort of the area that immediately surrounds Santa Fe, so that we understand the city, that we understand the regional context, because we're not going to remain we're not going to remain within the boundaries. The county is growing as well, and we need to accommodate and think about our county partners, our county community, as we proceed forward on a long-range basis. The horizon year for this general plan is 2050. So we can't imagine that we are going to remain within our existing jurisdictional boundary. Possibly for the next 10 years, we will remain with our current jurisdictional boundary, but things can change. And certainly that would be a consensus process that would have to happen with the Board of County Commissioners and the City Council. So, but it's just really important, and it makes good sense to also provide that data to our county partners. And so that's what we have done, is the assessment report has really highlighted a lot of different things that the county can be working on with the city. We can look for funding resources and the like so that we can make public improvements, accommodations for affordable housing and strategies together as a team. So the second stage, stage gates 2 and 3, has really been going through that technical working group and developing a mission and a vision, as well as with our community partners. The Community Partners Program is a program that it's a microgrant program the city implemented. Different community organizations, which includes organizations like Indigenous Ways, as well as Girls Inc., the Santa Fe Children's Museum, the Watershed Organization, and lots of different other ones, approximately 25, including Tusuque Pueblo. They were all part of this microgrant program. Earth Care was also part of that as well on the airport road, and they serve both city and county citizens. And so through that program, there was outreach that was done in a so-called safe space. City staff wasn't involved. It was these groups with their constituencies getting real feedback from groups that we don't typically get feedback from just because of the amount of time it takes to go to an open house or the amount of time that it takes to spend at a commission hearing. So we really wanted to make sure to get that. So from the community partners, we got over 225 visioning surveys, and we also had input collected for approximately 700 different pieces of input for the vision statement, as well as direct engagements. There were over 600 people that participated through this community partner program, which is really a critical key point. We've also been out in the community. We went to the Southside Feria, as well as to Pride and to all the other events last summer as we started this engagement process. So the metrics include approximately 9,500 website visitors for the SantaFeForward.org website. 788 surveys were completed, plus 8,000 pieces of input were received from those surveys. So that's really a huge metric. And when I worked for the city of Aurora in Colorado, there was nothing close to that. When I worked for the Hillsborough County City County Planning Commission, nothing like that. We have a really active and engaged community, and that's the reason I love living here, is because we do have people who invest the time in their community. So, and then of course we have lots of different posts on social media, and then we've had presentations to city departments, community groups, partner agencies. I presented to the Santa Fe County Planning Commission previously, as well as other nonprofits that maybe weren't involved as community partners themselves. So after this large amount of work that we've done already, the mission statement, the draft mission statement that we're currently getting feedback on is faithful to our heritage, focused on present and forging our future. On our present and forging our future, Santa Fe Forward shapes the city different, sets priorities, and opens opportunities for all. And the reason we use the word all is because we want to talk about all as all the people that live here, work here, and are part of our community, including Santa Fe County. Because a lot of people who live in the county, work in the city, come to the city for different events and the like. So truly, we need to get beyond that political boundary. And I think we're making some very important steps towards doing that. And it's really exciting to be part of that process. The vision statement, Santa Fe supports and respects the needs and growth of all in harmony with our heritage and environment, thriving today and tomorrow as the city different. Yeah, it's a little more City of Santa Fe specific, but you have to expect a little bit of that. So the values and priorities of greatest alignment amongst all the community partners, as well as the public at large, is the number one issue, is housing and affordability. Community facilities and services, such as this, we got a lot of feedback on the teen center and different community facilities across the region. The MRC is another one where people want to have access to different amenities, community amenities within their neighborhoods. Environmental stewardship and resilience is another one that was really important. A lot of the conversations were focused around water and transportation and mobility. Out of this, we've developed areas of priorities and prioritization maps. So every planner loves a good map. And we're not the exception to the rule. But we have also vetted these maps with county staff in some of our meetings as well, and they've provided some comments. So as to prioritization framework, we have a series of established areas, investment areas, and enhancement areas. So the established areas include the Village of Agua Fria area, as well as the Civic Center core. But there's areas that need redevelopment and investment that could help serve our community better by providing more affordable housing opportunities, for instance, or even just housing, period, for the community at large. And so those areas have also been identified on this map. There's the connection framework. That framework helps to identify where our financial priorities are going to be, our investments relative to transportation. We've engaged a lot with Santa Fe Trails and our RTD regional partners in order to really help to identify investments that could best support them. One of the things that we learned from them was there's a sweet spot in terms of bus service. It's not necessarily every 15 minutes is the best figure, but every 30 minutes is a sweet spot, and getting that last mile connection is really important. So having those connections to areas in the immediately surrounding the city, as well as within the city, to get people from point A to point B via transit is really important. There are a lot of people that have just one car in a household and need to have additional options for traversing our city and as well as the county. The places framework, we have identified different place types and places that for areas of focus. We've received some feedback already from our different constituencies, from the community partners specifically, expressing some disagreement with this, and that's exactly what we want if you feel like that's important. And I would encourage the commission, anybody listening to this presentation, to go to the santafeforward.org website and actually respond to some of the questions regarding the vision and the mission, as well as these priorities, because it's really a critical piece to the success of the plan. So the different frameworks right now include Tierra Contenta, Siler Rufina as a major employment center, as well as the Civic Center rail yard area. This map helps to illustrate the defining edges, and so these are the areas that we really need to start thinking about going forward, and the strengthening areas as well. So what's really critical to think about here is how does our region operate together? So one of the responses or comments I got from county staff was the area that's off of Highway 14 and the large amount of development that's going on there. They would like us to characterize that as something that is more of a defining edge that has growth opportunities for affordable housing investment and other pieces of that, whereas maybe in the Cienega area, there's more preservation of larger lots and the like. So there's a lot of thought that's going on already amongst county staff and sharing with the city staff about the importance of how we relate our two jurisdictions together to have a successful community that can provide best service possible. The different place types that we have available, and actually just one, I need to go back one moment. I want to highlight something that just happened today. So you can see that sort of red bubble in the connections framework. That is an area that is called an equity priority area. In our assessment report, we determined that's where the most vulnerable populations are. We got some feedback from EarthCare. It's like, what about Airport Road? There's vulnerable populations there. What was determined that this was the area of most vulnerability. And so when we were drafting this plan, we thought there's a need to preserve the way of life, the ability for people to hold on to their homes and not be impacted by sprawl and growth of the city. And so that's really helped to inform our discussion relative to Area 1B. And what can we do to better serve that community? Well, maybe it needs to stay in the county. Maybe that's the best approach. And that's possible, a possible change to this, although that will remain an equity area, but that will be, if things are approved, will go to the county, the area of equity will be around Airport Road because that was sort of the close number 2 in this particular case in our analysis with the assessment report. The assessment report is also online on that SantaFeForward.org website. Different place types includes neighborhoods, corridors, districts, engines. That would be services engines as well as employment engines and landscapes as well, so conservation areas and the like. So as we develop the place type map, that will help to inform the policies that are created for those place types. So as part of the general plan project, also we'll be developing an implementation plan. So the general plan itself is not going to be a very long document. It was over 400 pages back in the 1990s. Right now, the current draft is 83 pages. Now, we're waiting for some feedback right now before we launch into filling out those 83 pages and adjusting, making adjustments, but the implementation plan is where the rubber hits the road. That's where we're going to help identify what our priorities are. Oh, I'm sorry. What our priorities are and making investments and also developing better policy as we proceed forward in our region. Just one quick note on City Smart. This is also part of the general plan update. The City Smart is a GIS-based engine where we have added data, and we're going to continue to add data. So it's very dynamic. For instance, eventually people will be able to select attractive land, and they will be able to, pull up all building permits that have been issued for that particular property, as well as historic property information, cultural property information, and the like. This particular map is what's called the residential pipeline map. It analyzes how many units are affordable, how many units are, first of all, what's under construction, what's been approved, what's completed, and then what percentage is affordable. And then in the case of multifamily development, in this particular case for the master plan, there's going to be an inclusion of 600 affordable units, but there's also a little more drilling down on multifamily where there's the fee in lieu option for different developers to be able to pay fee in lieu instead of providing affordable housing as part of their multifamily development. So that's parsed out there as well. We've been working with the county on getting their data for the surrounding areas, so we can include that data for the affordable housing initiatives there. Mostly it's been with county GIS staff, and we haven't engaged with the affordable housing team yet, and I just thought about that. So we need to do that, but we truly, truly want this GIS map to reflect the data that maybe the county wants to include as well, so that it can be dynamic and serve our community at large. So we're still under construction, so we haven't gotten that far yet, but we really want to see how we can provide the best information possible without people having to dig around for it in multiple areas. That concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and certainly I always appreciate people who are involved and interested in these processes.
Thank you, Director Lamboy. Commissioners, interested parties here. Commissioner Johnson, go for it, please.
Thank you, Chair Green. Thank you, Ms. Lamboy. Very informative. I think I've been following this, including the code update portion of it, for quite some time. And I guess, without airing all your trade secrets, I'm wondering, what, when you approached this plan, was there anything unanticipated or a tactic change midstream that informed your process for, say, community outreach or anything like that, that would help us as a county when we embark on a similar endeavor, to sort of share your lessons learned during this process? Because I know that these are complicated conversations, right? And that's because they should be. People have a lot of different sort of stake invested in Santa Fe's property, but cultural heritage, et cetera. So how we understand and develop those conversations is sensitive, and we just need to be careful walking through it. So I wonder if there's anything you might share with us as a body that will, embark on this in the near future.
Chair Green, Commissioner Johnson, thank you for the question. We actually were able to use the momentum we gained with the Midtown planning process, where there was a microgrant program for that as well, for community input, as sort of the starting point. We knew, based on our technical expertise from the team, as well as the consultant recommendations, that we needed to find a way to go to where the people are. So in the past, that has meant going out to festivals and all of that. And, as a professional planner in the past, we've spent time out in parks, at movies in the park, and all the different, venues. But that didn't, it's, as people are passing by, going on their day, that, you can only get just tidbits here and there. So we wanted something that was more substantive. And so that's how we developed the Community Partner Program. And it's been really successful. It acknowledges that people's time is valuable, provides a benefit to the community as well with these micro grants. I mean, they're not very expensive. They're approximately $5,000 for the highest tier of participation, but it helps with their operations and then also helps us get better response. So we are actually going to implement that program going forward for our land development code update process as well, which we're just getting started on phase 2. There are some things we need to finish up with the general plan before we can get too far in the land development code update, because we need to make sure our policies match the regulations that we're going to adopt. But we're initiating that right now. That was a really critical piece of that I find was really successful, and we need to implement regularly.
Great, and I think we intend to do that. And I just wanted to add that, by supporting those organizations who help shape the culture of Santa Fe and its community sort of sense, it helps sort of weave them into the fabric of city life and not just sort of leave them on the outside knocking on the door. So I think it's a great practice. I look forward to hearing more as things develop, and 83 pages seems pretty easy to read in an afternoon, so thank you.
Fabulous. Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you. I just have a question, and it may not apply to the city as much to the county, but I wonder if you are taking into account our somewhat limited water supply. How much water would it take to support the development you're planning and stuff like that? I just wondered if that was included in your thought process at all.
Thank you for the question, Chair Green, Commissioner Hughes. That is an issue all throughout the West, and limited water supply is for everybody. Just because of we're seeing climate change, we're seeing all sorts of demands in terms of population growth. The good news in terms of our analysis is that we use less water now in the city than we did in the 1990s through conservation practices, through using green building techniques and all the different low flow toilets. But we really need to be smart about it. So just similar to, I saw there was going to be a presentation, similar to the county, there's a plan out to 2100 in order to understand water supply. A quick note on population growth. The expectation in the city is that we will continue to grow until about 2040, and then we'll level off and go down. And that's something that you see nationwide. Not as many people are having 3 kids like I did. So there are more and more people who are having just one child, or not having children. And so we will be seeing nationwide sort of a shrinkage of the population. So that could be helpful in that particular case on that sort of the end of the horizon, the planning horizon, in terms of accounting for water. But water is not a renewable resource, and we need to be really careful.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I wouldn't want us to end up in a place. Well, I guess you were maybe here in the drought around 2000, where you actually couldn't water any parks, and in El Dorado we had to use very little water, and I would hate for us to with all this planning, still come to that situation where, oh, sorry, we don't have any water, and have to really limit it, because I think we're tapping into all the sources we can think of, you know, the Rio Grande, the wells here, the wells there, and so I think it's great that we're doing all that. I just think we ought to be really careful as to how much we grow, you know, so we don't have to shut off the water overnight for everybody or whatever. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Commissioner Bustamante.
Thank you, Chair. The question I have, I just returned from New Orleans, and I'm a born and reared Santa Fean. Just the beginning of this meeting, we had the former county assessor here, and these memories of celebrating culture and certain things that became contentious and kind of needed to, and we're moving forward in our evolution. But when we talk about these heritage planning and how we work with culture, and why I bring up New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans was a slave, Louisiana was a slave state, frankly. I understand they have leadership that are still with the KKK. Meanwhile, when you get to the city, there is French celebration. There's a whole area that is signed by when the Spanish had one part of the French quarter, and you have African American and different types of just such diverse celebration of culture that was respectful to each another. And I'm really hoping, because I will say that one thing that's been somewhat painful, I see the assessor, and he used to be the assessor, but he also played music in town, and it was always this very culturally diverse type of event. And when we looked at each other, we're like, so much has changed. There isn't an integration of different types. We have this thing called the fiestas. It became real contentious. Spanish market was lovely. We have Indian market. But that's all very consumer-based, and we have economic development. But how do we get to a city with a soul? You know, and I'm not saying that Santa Fe doesn't have its soul, but one of the things that was always beautiful were artists coming, you know, as far back as the 20s, and this is a place where you can paint, and people knew each other, and there wasn't a lot of what I'm going to use the term contra, the not getting along. And these are waves, right? I mean, these things come and go, but when we're looking at something that's a planning document and we're saying heritage, how do we do that respectful, knowing that architecturally there's been a colonial period, and then there's the Pueblo renewal, and da-da-da-da. You know, I hope that we can, as different people from different generations, from other places come in, when we have a sense of place, that if we're going to do something that's protective or celebratory of heritage, that we're able to do it in those ways that acknowledge, I would say, the cultural fluidity of where we've been, and those who have called this home now for eternity and hundreds of years, and I may have just gotten here, but this is my place. You know, how do we bring that? And so I say that more as a question. I say it having left New Orleans thinking, wow, I wish we had this kind of integration of culture without feeling like, don't say that because they'll get mad and you're not, you know, just things sort of have to smooth out and celebrate all that is. And frankly, you're in the perfect position to be in that planning phase. It doesn't have to do with we're here to hurt people, we're here to celebrate culture, people, survival, drought, a place where you can't grow a heck of a lot of food and people still found ways to live back in the day. So I dropped that off as a, you know, being sincere about heritage and how do we get there from here. That's not just about capitalism, if you will.
Yeah, Chair Green, Commissioner Bustamante, I think you bring up a really important point. We've had a lot of difficult community conversations in the city. Certainly the lightning bolt has been the Soldiers Monument and other different types of conversations about, you know, what do we prioritize, or what we should do is bring everybody to the table. When it comes to the built environment, I think one of the most powerful aspects of our culture is that we actually, in our region, had missing middle housing, the missing middle where we provide for affordable housing opportunities for families through family compounds. So how do we encourage that when we do our land development code regulations? Do we need to really have that 20-foot setback, and how can we really allow for something to grow more organically like it did historically here? There's also services and programs that need to be considered as well to honor all of the different cultures that we have. But you do bring up a good point that we can still create more momentum in honoring and respecting everybody's heritage here. You know, I'm more of a recent arrival. My family's from southern New Mexico, and so, but there's a lot of people who come here that bring really good ideas, but there's also people from here who really also have those great ideas that already are expressed on the ground. And so, you know, I sat here and listened to Hilario Romero's presentation on Pueblo Quemado, and just acknowledging and listening to that and taking that to heart and understanding, well, the way we plan should really consider those types of things, I think is a good first step that the board at county commissioners and the city council can do. And that, I can't speak for other people, but for me, that was informed by that conversation.
Mr. Chair, thank you for that. You made me think about, also lately there have been someone posting pictures of when the cathedral was built. And I'm gonna tell you, there were a bunch of French guys and Italians putting these huge stones to build a cathedral over a chapel that already existed. And I, in my entire life, didn't know any, I mean, I knew there were French names and there were Italian names, but really, how do you celebrate the culture of these gigantic stones? And then you stopped when they stopped. And there's so much beauty, you know, in all the different derivations of the culture as it's expanded. So I'm really grateful for your insights, sincerely, and love hearing you from southern New Mexico. That's where I play cowgirl. Just saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bustamante. Commissioner Kakari-Stone.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Lamboy. First, I want to say I appreciate your participation in the Area 1B working group. We made a lot of progress in a short period of time. We couldn't have done it without you and others from the city and the county. Second, I have a community-based, more of a design team that's looking at how we amend the sustainable development codes and bridge cultural and community ways and knowings and traditions on building and land use with what we have today with the city and county. I'd like to invite you to join, but wondering if you have any nuggets of wisdom to share on how any technical ways you're looking at allowing or changing codes as examples to allow intergenerational wealth transfer, people to stay on their lands longer, densification, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Green, Commissioner Kakari-Stone. One of the things that we've done already is to allow accessory dwelling units on all residential properties in the city. So just that is a by right type of scenario, and it allows for up to 1,500 square feet for an accessory dwelling unit, which could be a 3-bedroom home. I think my house off of Zia Road is approximately that size and is 3 bedrooms. So, you know, it's really critical because that will allow for more development. Where I'm also working with the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, to get a pattern book. And actually, the Road to Housing Act has identified some financial resources to help with that, so you have those pre-approved plans and they can be pulled off of the shelf and used by somebody to build another unit. And then, of course, like I mentioned previously, we're really taking a hard look at doing away with the suburban scale development that we found or used in the 1950s all the way up through the modern day, like you find in Casa Solana, Tierra Contenta. Really, Tierra Contenta sort of moves the needle a little bit in providing for, you know, mixed types of development in close proximity to each other. But then how do we also, just thinking on the basis for the county, how do we also allow for more dense development that serves family compounds that maybe isn't 1 unit per 160 acres, but also is really a critical thing that we have to consider. So certainly look forward to collaborating with the county as we proceed through our code update and, learning things from you too, in terms of traditional villages like Chimayo and others, where there's that historic development pattern, which really can be used as a point of reference.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch as this design team gets started towards the end of August. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Lamboy. I have a couple questions. The first one is, are you taking into consideration what I would call non-land use aspects of a land use code? So, for instance, are you overlaying, maybe some of these are land use aspects, but maybe not city zoning things, but where the schools are, where the kids that go to school are, so you can start to help the school districts and maybe some of the planning and the transportation routing and the pedestrian walk to school corridors, so that we look and see the trends in terms of like, oh, this is where the parts of towns where families are living, and this is the parts of towns where, as opposed to the school districts and where schools and daycare might be, senior centers, right? Where are the seniors in our community? Where are the seniors, where do they live? Where are the facilities that they're utilizing? Everything from, the Mary Esther Gonzalez, which is the city's one facility. We have multiple around Santa Fe County. These other demographic aspects that get into the granularity of where people live and what they use. I would additionally look at things like, wonder if this is another layer that starts to inform the plan. Transportation corridors, where, youth services are, parks, right? There's a layer of parks and, event spaces, where crime is happening, where places that crime is happening, and maybe there's a built environment solution to sort of address that, or at least to inform the Santa Fe Police Department, or in our case, the Sheriff's Office, where and how, what best practices are out there. So I'm wondering if there's some, I call them non-land use, traditional land use decisions that can be informing land use policy some way in there. And I saw this once upon a time in what somebody described to me as a California's version of a general plan, that they the land use plan is just one chapter, but then every city service was layered on there. Senior services, youth services, education services, medical services, shopping services. Can I walk to a store to get sugar, butter, diapers, beer, whatever the 5 things that are most necessary, and then giving that informative thing to say, yes, these homes are walkable, or these are not, and to sort of target those things so that we can then invest and make things more walkable, because that seems to be an intention. Anyway, non-land use things, but applied to a land use plan.
Great question, Chair Green. That is a thread that goes throughout the general plan project, and we're not necessarily looking at that with our land development code update, although what we do in the LDC also will be informed by one of the most common comments that we have received is that I want to be able to walk to school, I want to be able to walk to a store, all of the different things. I want to have a mixed-use community where I don't necessarily have to get into my car. I want to be able to get to a park and all of those things. So there's weaving together of a lot of different departments. For instance, with our Parks and Recreation team, there's a lot of parks in the city of Santa Fe. We have more parks than the city of Albuquerque. How do we, and they're difficult to maintain just because there's a limited budget. So how do we repurpose those parks so that we can possibly have some sort of community center there, just a small community gathering spot, or affordable housing, just using part of the park for affordable housing, or also working with the schools. So as we develop the policy, we're going to identify the partners, and how we can deal with those more esoteric issues, but getting people from point A to point B. Another challenge we have in our community is, I drive by Chaparral, the old Chaparral Middle School on Zio Road every day coming to work, and I just, wince because that's a great housing opportunity. It's a great opportunity to do something different. And so working with our different partners like the Santa Fe Public Schools, teacher housing, those are the things that we need to do. And it's really close to Albertsons and to Walgreens. And there's great transportation. It works with the transit stop there at Zia Station. So, we really have a lot of work to do in that regard, but we are definitely considering it, and hopefully through the implementation plan, we'll identify some action steps to get to that issue a little bit better than we have.
Fabulous. The other, once upon a time, Santa Fe County and the city of Santa Fe had an organization called the Regional Planning Authority, the RPA. Hasn't met since 2012. I think that there's an opportunity for us to start to discuss that sort of city-county extraterritorial, maybe even greater county area where people, honestly, people commute from Rio Arriba these days in San Miguel County and Los Alamos. And so to really look at Santa Fe as a regional hub for, as an employment hub, right? We don't have enough housing. People commute from Albuquerque and Rio Rancho. And so how do we not destroy that employment hub, but at the same time, find a way to make it work in the best way? And so I'm wondering if there's any discussion at the city, and maybe this is a conversation for Thursday, to talk about some next steps to make sure that we continuously talk about, how we work inside and outside those jurisdictional boundaries, right? Arroyo Hondo, El Dorado, La Cienega, Airport Road, near North Side. We're inside, outside here at this body, but a lot of us work, we're very fluid, as it may be. Is there any talk about some organization that could help with making sure that we continually talk between our organizations?
You bring up a great point, Chair Green. And when I worked for Aurora, Colorado, I was liaison to the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and I saw the power of a regional organization accessing lots of financial resources because it was a collaborative effort. There was also a Metro Vision. In the memo that will be Alexandra Ladd and I will be presenting on Thursday, at Thursday's meeting, we talk about the urban area versus the rural area. How do we protect the rural area and really find those resources we need to for the urban area, including the county, portions of the county that are immediately adjacent to the city? So you bring up an excellent point, and I think there are 14,000 people that work at Los Alamos National Labs. My daughter is one. And she drives back and forth from Santa Fe, and she's one of 8,000 people that traverse or make that trip from Los Alamos to Santa Fe. So that's impacts on county roads. And so we really need to engage in those conversations. And with Las Vegas, there's several city employees I know that come every day from Las Vegas. So in addition to the Rio Rancho cohort. But those issues, I think, would be well served to be discussed in that venue, because I think we need to think more holistically as a region, and we've just been sort of doing our own little thing, but there also needs to be resources given to that in terms of financial resources and establishing that has to be a priority as well, because the existing staff can't accomplish that.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, but just starting to think in those terms, right? When, to Commissioner Hughes's point, we need to start talking about water regionally. We're already, Commissioner Bustamante has been an advocate for starting that conversation, and we know that water is a common thread for all of us here, and it doesn't stop at city lines, right? We already have BDD working together, and we have the Pojoaque Basin Regional Water System, which is going to have 4 tribes and the county, and might have agreements that even leave the valley there. So it's definitely complicated, but those regional organizations at the super macro planning level that then dig down into everything from water to land use to job centers to all those things there should be one body, in my opinion, that starts to talk about those and not depend on political boundaries, but go back to their political organizations and say, we got to start thinking about these things. Last thing, I do want to give you kudos for the micro grant and community outreach aspects, because I think that is definitely one of the most innovative parts of this. And I hope I see Herbert. You didn't turn around and see that Herbert's actually here in the room, but he's here. And I hear that Director Ladd is online, and we were really happy to hear that we're adopting that. I've heard from some of the organizations that they really appreciate that too. So that to me is a great added bonus to your plan and informing our plan here. Commissioners, any other questions for Director Ladd? Oh, sorry, Director Ladd. Director Lamboy and Director Ladd is somewhere up in the ether. Herbert, do you have a question? Okay, sorry to put you on the spot, but you're here, so, you know. Thank you for including us in all those conversations, to have Director Ladd and Herbert on your team, and whenever you invite me, you know, I show up, so thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the partnership with the county.
Great, cheers, thank you.
Yeah.
Super fabulous. Hope you learned a lot there, and I did, and look forward to hearing more about this. So we are going to move on to water. We have, there's one more presentation, yes? It is a water presentation. Walker, nope, sorry. Not Walker yet, we are water now. We are a presentation of the Santa Fe 2100 Long-Range Water Planning Project from our, excellent, right on.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. It's nice to see all of you. My name is Brant Geist, Water Resources Manager within the Utilities Division of the Public Works Department for the county, and I am here to give an update and refresher on the Santa Fe 2100 Long-Range Water Planning. And so I'll start big picture with what is the Santa Fe 2100. So what we're trying to do with this effort is understand and evaluate what future water demands could look like in the region of Santa Fe, understand what our supplies are and how they're going to change over time, take a look at our infrastructure and what would need to be done for it, and also factoring in climate uncertainty like what was touched on in the last presentation, trying to understand and forecast what different climate scenarios could look like and what those implications could be. And as part of that, we're testing a lot of what-if scenarios through a modeling effort with our consultant firm, Hazen and Sawyer, along with the city of Santa Fe. So based on those different assumptions of what demand, supplies, and climate could look like, all the way up till 75 years from now, running different scenarios to see what it could look like and entail for the county. And then ultimately what we're working on now is identifying what some of those vulnerability scenarios and stressors are currently and what they will be in the future, as well as how we're going to adapt through adaptation strategies to those different stressors as a result. So that way the county is being proactive about potential issues rather than reactive to them. And so that is currently what staff is working on in coordination with the city of Santa Fe, along with our consultant. And so ultimately, we believe this will help connect our water planning with growth and development decisions that can hopefully help better inform the BCC as well as the public as we move forward with growth and development decisions as a whole. And so why this matters, of course, we know that new and existing development depends heavily on reliable long-term supply. And so we recognize that current assumptions as to the water supply we have now, what demand would be now, can change over time, especially over the next 75 years. And so given that, we're aware drought, infrastructure, and supply constraints can affect our ability for the utility to serve our customers when and where the water is needed. So these are all factors we're trying to get out ahead of, so we are aware of what scenarios could look like and put ourselves in a position to address those issues as they arise. And so Santa Fe 2100 as a whole will really help identify when the county needs to reassess current direction to ensure that we're have plenty of water available where and when it needs to be provided to our residents. And so overall, the key questions that staff have identified that Santa Fe 2100 will help answer are these key bullet points here. So thinking about how much water could be needed by 2100, that is obviously paramount to the initiative. In addition, understanding based on where mutual domestics and other future potential customers are located. So thinking about where future county demand will likely occur in correspondence with our sustainable development areas as well. So we're factoring that into the initiative in addition. And then thinking about in terms of our current water supplies through the San Juan Chama project water, as well as the native Rio Grande water as our two key ones, as well as groundwater as well as a backup, understanding which ones are reliable, which ones are uncertain and could change over this time period, and then which ones are particularly vulnerable based on climate uncertainty and other conditions that are outside of the county's control. And then based on this, we want to understand what conditions could trigger reassessment to help us reflect on our policy and development decisions and other things that are impacted by the water supply that's available to us. And so ultimately, we want to figure out different adaptation strategies that could help alleviate these stressors and concerns. And so staff has been working on putting that together, and we want to eventually understand which ones we should prioritize based on an evaluation criteria that I'll show on the next few slides. And so for our adaptation strategies, we have 38 different adaptation strategies that staff and I have put together. And so it kind of covers 6 key categories, which are the ones shown here. So thinking about strategies related to enhancing conservation and improving our demand management, thinking about how we can reuse different water sources like our reclaimed and treated effluent from the wastewater treatment plant, and that goes along with recycling our water as well. And then also with water rights and supply portfolio management, thinking about how we can diversify our supply, increase our supply, and optimize our supply that we have in our portfolio as it currently stands. And then like Chair Green alluded to, we have the Pewaukee Basin Regional Water System as well. So thinking about how that could serve as an interconnect and intertie into the Santa Fe Basin as well, and serve as an emergency and backup supply, and also just another unique supply for our county as well. And then groundwater backup and storage options. So thinking about aquifer storage and recovery. So different ways in which we can store water to use it at a later time when it is needed. So that's another avenue with a set of strategies we're looking at. And lastly, of course, infrastructure and operational resilience. So how can we improve leak loss detection through advanced and automated metering infrastructure, aging infrastructure? How can we allocate resources to ensure we are on top of that as well? So there's a lot of different avenues that staff have developed for different strategies that could help alleviate a lot of the stressors that are identified later. And so in order to, on a consistent basis and across the board, evaluate these strategies that the county would consider implementing over the next 75 years, we've developed a set of 5 key criterion that would be used. And so if an adaptation strategy would prove to be effective, it would score well across these criteria. So one of which is reliability and drought resilience. So if we turn on the faucet, does this strategy help contribute to ensuring that's the case? And then also is groundwater sustainability and source balance. So thinking about recharging our aquifers and not over-relying on groundwater. So if a strategy helps us do that, it would score well in that criteria. And then in terms of regional service and growth support, if it's a strategy that helps us fulfill our county goals of affordable housing, growing in sustainable development areas, then that would be a strategy that scores well for that category. And then in terms of equity and community benefit, that's another key area for the county as well. So does it benefit a large distribution of our county constituents? Does it particularly help perhaps disadvantaged communities that are in need of utility support? And so that's another aspect as well. And then of course is the feasibility and cost. So Is it something that the county could reasonably execute and complete? And is the cost a reasonable measure as well? And so given all that, staff have thought through what some of those key vulnerabilities and stressors could be. And so the Buckman Direct Diversion is our water treatment plant that provides us our San Juan Chama and native Rio Grande water. And so we want to think about what could a potential outage or reduced capacity look like as a potential stressor, and then what would be the measures through different strategies to adapt to that issue. And of course, related to that is reduced San Juan Chama supply, which, as you're probably aware of, we've had a much reduced allocation given to us due to the reduced snowpack in southern Colorado from that mountainous region that eventually reaches us as part of the drainage basin. So what would it look like if we have continued drought as well, with long-term drought that's shown there? What could those impacts look like, as well as groundwater decline, of course, and potentially water quality considerations due to naturally occurring and perhaps unnaturally occurring contaminants like PFAS, as an example, in certain areas. And then another one, of course, is the Pewaukee Basin Regional Water System. So considering that would be another regional supply, and thinking in a regional mindset, how could that impact the county as well for planning? So thinking about changed assumptions with that. And then lastly, faster than expected growth in terms of the county and future developments and what that could look like. And so for early indicators for reassessment, hopefully the modeling that takes place in the coming months and year can really help point us to changing assumptions that would serve as early indicators that allow us to proactively reassess how we're viewing policy and future developments and other factors that involve water and the utility in particular. So some of those would include future demand that grows faster than the projected numbers that we're working with. And it allows us to be dynamic in the sense we can update our numbers, adapt to those, and then go off of revised assumptions. So I think that's a powerful component of this project and tool. And so other ones include reserve capacity that's faster than expected in terms of when we're committing it. These key supplies that I referenced, such as the San Juan Chama water, what would it look like if it's reduced or unavailable at some point in the future, along with resources like the Pewaukee Basin, what happens if that's delayed? And ultimately, the modeling should hopefully show if there are key shortages under drought scenarios, point us to what efforts need to be taken as we currently sit to ensure future constituents as well as county staff, BCC members have a clearer picture as to how they can handle and mitigate issues as they arise. And lastly is, of course, infrastructure, making sure that that is in place and we're investing the capital improvement needed to ensure we have the infrastructure in place to not only have the water, but serve the community when and where it is needed. And so we have a few key next steps since the county entered this project about a year and a half ago through a memorandum of understanding with the city of Santa Fe. And so in the last few months, we've made a lot of progress and traction, coordinating with the city of Santa Fe, reaching out and talking to our Water Policy Advisory Committee to take on their feedback as well so we can sharpen and refine our comprehensive documents for this project, which has been a great opportunity. And so far, they've thought very highly of the effort and work that the county staff have done so far. And so we want to continue building on those talks with the city of Santa Fe, as well as Hazen and Sawyer, the consulting group, of course, our Water Policy Advisory Committee as well, and eventually broadening it up to the greater public as well and our constituents to receive their feedback to make sure it's as representative as we can make it for this project. And so we're going to continue evaluating those documents such as the adaptation strategies, the vulnerability scenarios, and then ultimately what we want to do is identify those key scenarios and the data to model with Hazen and Sawyer so that we can use that documentation to refine those assumptions that we rely on when we're making decisions about policy developments and how the utility will operate moving forward. And then ultimately, we want to return with findings and policy options that are data-driven and really representative of a lot of different stakeholders and a lot of comprehensive work that's been done. And then just to lastly give you a project timeline, this summer and fall of 2026, we're finalizing those documents, what our assumptions currently are, refining those documents as well based on those stakeholders I mentioned. And then in the winter and spring, we'll work especially with Hazen and Sawyer to complete that technical modeling, as well as with the City of Santa Fe to evaluate those strategies. And because we recognize our systems are very interconnected and intertied, we will work closely with the City of Santa Fe to identify joint strategies and initiatives and stressors that are shared amongst us so we can prioritize those and ultimately have the greatest impact on the project. And then lastly, we're hoping next summer, next fall, we could develop these final set of recommendations and have a deliverable that's a dynamic planning tool and model that can ultimately be used by county staff moving forward to update our assumptions and continue refining the model that we're using. And hopefully that can help contribute to more informed decision-making for how we look at developments and growth and policy in general moving forward. And of course, staff will provide the board with updates at key project milestones along the way. And so there's my contact information if you have any questions, and I stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Commissioners? Commissioner Hughes?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, and this is related to the last presentation, but is one of the recommendations going to be to when we should stop developing new housing? I mean, it might be way in the future, it might be pretty near, I just don't know. But my constituents are always asking things like, why don't you put a moratorium on housing development right now so we don't run out of water? And I think we need to know, when that is.
Chair Green and Commissioner Hughes, thank you very much for the question. That is something that utility staff and of course the county as a whole is always thinking about at all times. And I think based on the presentation I gave last month here at BCC with the accounting and availability report for 2025, the county is well positioned based on our water rights portfolio, the infrastructure capacity we have, as well as other considerations, and what we project for demand. We're well suited to meet the demands for the foreseeable future. And I think the big initiative with Santa Fe 2100 is that although that's the current understanding and based on very strong assumptions that are data driven now, we recognize those could change in the future. So Santa Fe 2100 allows us to have a dynamic model that's adaptable to where if projected growth is faster than we expected or water supplies such as native Rio Grande water is reduced more than we anticipated, or our water rights that are not wet water rights but are paper water rights prove to not be enough of a buffer that we already have, then those are factors we can consider and implement into the model to then have revised demand scenarios that would inform us whether our current system can still withstand and thrive under a future scenario that would have those sorts of limitations.
Yeah, I think there are some limitations already. For example, El Dorado, where I live, has its own water system, but we don't have the water. We used to get all of our water from groundwater. That was not sustainable. The aquifer just kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And so we're dependent on the Rio Grande water. And I think when the El Dorado Water Association negotiated with the county, I don't think they realized how dependent we were going to be on the county for that water. So I think there's some, already, and you could say, why did we let some stupid developer develop that way? But it's done. And so we need to somehow figure out how we're going to supply water to people. And the people out on Route 14, their wells are going dry because the aquifer is dropping, and they're going to need to supply probably from our bulk water station or maybe some water lines strategically placed. So I think there's already some constraints on us. And we ought to take all that into consideration. But anyway, thank you. It sounds like you're moving in the right direction. And I'm on the BDD board, so I'm sort of following this from all directions. But thank you.
Fabulous. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Brant, for the presentation. Does this process involve, so we have scenarios that are kind of like indicators where we may need to pull back, but are there anticipated to be recommendations for water use, water reduction, use reduction strategies? So for instance, I know we do some aquifer recharge, but I put on our strategic plan for the future planning efforts idea of black water reuse or reuse systems. Is that contemplated in this? Other examples would be our own landscape reduction or some system that restricts or limits construction use of water. I know that's a major user. Agriculture is a major user, so education campaigns on sustainability, et cetera. I'm just wondering if that kind of suite of ideas is also part of this, because it seems like we need to react and we have a plan for reaction, but how can we proactively improve our water situation knowing what the future holds?
Thank you, Chair Green and Commissioner Johnson, for the question. You're exactly right. And as part of those 38 adaptation strategies that county staff has developed, a big portion of those are exactly what you're referring to, which is how we can better use our existing water. And it's not just about projecting future demand, but how can we alleviate some of the constraints that Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Johnson that you're bringing up. So some of those adaptation strategies, for example, include the aquifer storage and recovery. Also, managed aquifer recharge is another one. But I think another one that I particularly find to be pretty promising is treated effluent from our wastewater treatment plant for purposes like you're mentioning, the construction. If they can use non-potable water rather than potable water that they're currently using from bulk water stations or other sources, those would be good ways to reduce what demand is currently. So that way we're not only trying to address future constraints, but existing constraints, so that we're in an even better position than we currently are, even though we are well positioned based on the numbers and what we have currently going on with active adaptation strategies. But of course, I think there's not just the current, but also the long term, which the Santa Fe 2100 basically puts it in an even broader time horizon, where we think not about constraints now, but thinking about what any potential constraint could be all the way through 2100. So trying to look at it from an even bigger picture, but of course utilities and the county as a whole are working on strategies at the moment to address some of those current constraints as well that you referred to.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Bustamante.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Geist, I think your work is so great. I have to say, since we did the presentation together at the Roundhouse, I'm really impressed. I really appreciate your way of thinking. You're right on top of it. You're asking all the right questions, so I'm super grateful. There's been a frustration that I've had with regard to how much we know we have, how much has been committed, how much, and I'm assured, well, we always review that when an application is put in, we're good. And I can't sit with that. Now, I will say I have a bit of a background in water, so I'm not like one of the most naive, but it leaves me with a lot of questions with regard to, I'm glad you mentioned wet water, and I've said more foul words about paper water. Like, really? Like, I've told I used to teach environmental science, and tell my students, have a big gulp of paper water and see how it's going to roll for you. Those types of issues in making sure that we're able to get how much water has absolutely been committed out there on paper. How much do we really have with regard to the projections? And I say that somewhat comfortably, but part of one of the issues that we have now in my final year of my first term as a commissioner And we did I don't want to call it, staff did a great job doing 3 days of presentation, but we still don't have anything that solidly delivered a message that says how much do we have and how much are we going to have. We didn't. I'm sorry. I mean, no disrespect. Everybody has something in their pocket and they can contribute to a bit of information. You're the closest I've seen to really culminating this in a place. And I appreciate you listening to me. You know, when we look at these, and I'm hoping, I did read, you know, the contract that we have with our friends over at, don't tell me, over at, with an H, anyway, Hazen. Thank you, Hazen. And there are some things that are somewhat missing in how we would actually get there. Part of my problem with modeling, and modeling is in many cases what we're going to have to do with many things, right? And but one of those things that if I were to really put a big dream out there, as decision makers, and I say that because there's a whole community out there who's going to throw vegetables at us every time we say, you know, the water's fine, and the boo. How does the normal, average, everyday person have a collective understanding? In the slide presentation and in the Hazen report, I didn't see, you know, looking at our tributaries, how we're actually aligning, and I'm sure maybe it's there somehow, some way. You know, you talked about reclaimed, but when we get into, you know, the nuts and bolts of the smaller tributaries, how we collect off of arroyos, you know, I get that that may or may not be there. And then I go back to, we have paper water rights also that we're going to have to meet. That being said, my only big wish in the planet, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be outright open to everybody here, is we're working on really and getting with the state engineer as well, because the first time we tried to pitch this to staff, it was, no, people are going to not do a big NIMBY and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not the point. It's really not the point, and part of it is I don't really care. What I really care about is how much water do we have, how much has been committed, and how much are we going to have for future generations. That's what I really care about. So if I had a little kid and they came to me and said, I want some chocolate chip cookies, and I knew how many chocolate chip cookies I had in the closet, you know, in the pantry, and I said, you know, go ahead, have a chocolate chip cookie. Well, I want to bring some friends over for some chocolate chip cookies. Then I better know how many chocolate chip cookies there are in that pantry. And that answer is not coming. And I hope that like synthesizing it to that level of simplicity, knowing that it's a much more complicated issue and effort, is where we really need to be for our community members. I read a report from 1970, I want to say 76, 78, and water was a big dilemma in the 70s. Were you born in the 70s? Were you alive in the 70s?
Not even.
I don't know. But the fact is, there's always been this at least perception that water's, you know, I mean, so how do we get this real handle on it? As I don't really, this is a sword I'll fall on. I don't want to die kind of getting to the place where we might have an idea of whether or not if Colorado doesn't get water, we're all still good because we made it. I don't know. But I'm saying this more than asking, except the ask is to, as we go through all this 2100 business, how, pray tell, will we be able to simplify the answers to our communities, to the people who are wondering and worrying, to people in my district who had to drink, who realized they were drinking PFAS for decades, or however long it may have been there, they don't know. So it's that kind of thing. It's how simple are we going to be able to say this? I'm not saying my mom's a simple person, but say it so that my mom understands. And so you can't, like, you know, so that's really where I'm coming from. I hope that the overall message is I appreciate the questions you're asking and how solid you are in explaining this sincerely to us and other people who would have an understanding. How do we get that information and be able to say, these are the paper water rights that are out there. And guess what? We don't know that there will be that much water in, we don't know. I could make up 10 years, I could say 1 year, I could say 35 years, I could say 100 years, but we don't know. We all know we don't know. And I didn't see anywhere in here saying, well, how much paper has been committed in Santa Fe County. So I'm grateful. I don't want to keep babbling on, but I really, really will support anything and everything that you know, I just truly am grateful for your work and your background, Mr. Geist. Sincerely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioner Bustamante. I really appreciate your thoughts. I share a lot of the same thoughts that you do, and I think Santa Fe 2100 is really the central component of a lot of the work that the county has done over a long period of time to really hone in on understanding with a certain level of confidence what different scenarios of what actual water amounts and supply could look like all the way through 2100, but then recognizing today that yes, there's a distinction between the wet water that we're actually getting versus the paper water rights that we actually are legally entitled to, because I'm sure you are aware, but just for those who are not, is a water right gives us a legal right to use available water. So if water is not available, it's not going to show up out of thin air. So we understand that's a central component. So that's why we have this significant buffer between what our actual wet water use is now versus what we're entitled to use if it's available. And so in the history of the county so far with its utility, my understanding from John Houghton, our contracted water attorney, is we've never had an issue that you're alluding to where the paper water rights were not enough to cover what the wet water rights were, but we understand that that assumption could change in the future with climate uncertainty and other conditions that are out of our control. And so I think Santa Fe 2100, we're really at the central part of it, get to that part of it to see what it could look like in the future and be able to relay that to constituents to where we can confidently say, if the conditions are this, then we will have this amount of water, of wet water that's available to us, and then give them a range of conditions because we recognize we can't predict the future, but we can account for what a range of conditions could look like and then allow people to make more informed, data-driven decisions that hopefully allow them to be prosperous in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Geis. Mr. Chair, I appreciate everything you said very much. And I will share the first part that you were talking about, well, you can have the paper, but if you hit it and there's no water in there. I literally had a woman at an Acequia Association meeting tell me, yeah, well, you can get killed for that. So it's sort of, you sold something, but there's nothing right below them. And I looked at her and I said, please don't. But I walked away. So yes, it sounds like, well, you got paper, but you don't have water, so good luck with that. And that starts territorial war. And I'm saying that like tongue in cheek, and maybe not so much. The other thing that I will say is I'm appreciative, and I don't know if I thank the ethers or whatever, but unfortunately in my district, we have had people whose wells have gone dry, individuals. So we've been lucky as a county, I say, fortunate, able, we have resources that other people don't have, but wells go dry. And in other words, it's not that it wouldn't happen. So thank you. And I'm done. Thank you.
Amazing. Commissioner Bustamante, I agree with a lot of your sentiments there, and I appreciate the concept of the cookies. I will give an added aspect to that is the difference between paper water and wet water is wet waters are cookies you actually have, but stale cookies are paper water, right? And so you could have moldy, stale cookies in the closet. You invited people over to have cookies, and you go, oops, we don't have enough cookies anymore. So, so understanding the dynamics of, sorry, just to use that metaphor, but anyway, but it's definitely an issue of that. So sorry to make people lose their appetite. Commissioner Kokari-Stone, please.
Well, thank you, Chair. Mr. Geis, thank you for your presentation, your expertise, and I appreciate all the questions and comments to date. I just wanted to make a comment on, I went to the Next Generation Water Summit. I've read all the engineering reports that the county has that I was handed and done additional research. I'm not a water expert, but I do know indigenous ways of knowing and appreciate that we need to address water as a relational and ecological systems framework and not as a business transaction, a legal framework, or an economic development framework. And as long as we stay in that paradigm, we won't have enough water. And I think the wisdom and the knowledge base is out there. And I'll put in a formal request. I've asked it before, but as the county manager sits there and we have your wonderful presentation, I had asked the Next Generation Water Summit to have an Indigenous framework presentation. I think that gathering at the Roundhouse, people were quite alarmed, and there wasn't a lot of positivity around available water right now. So I just want to say I'm asking the county manager, I will provide names, that we have a presentation on Indigenous frameworks on water sovereignty and water sustainability so that we could actually look and see as a county what we can adopt that could actually bring on the wisdom. People contract out with Indigenous knowledge keepers. NASA contracts out with colleagues I know who are both PhDs and wisdom and knowledge keepers for years with the Dene folks to read the stars. We need to follow Indigenous ways of knowing if we're going to have next generation water. And that's just basically my perspective. That's what I hear from constituents, not all constituents, but I think that it's important we look at all ways of trying to make sure our future is with water. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kakari Stone.
Chair Green, Commissioner Kakari Stone, thank you very much for sharing that perspective. I think that's something, especially moving forward, the county would like to do, and particularly the utility, is having a holistic perspective and definitely learning different things from people with different perspectives. So I think that would just enhance our ability to better serve our constituents. So I would be all for that. And hopefully with the Pewaukee Basin Regional Water System and becoming more involved in that process as well, I'm having the opportunity to engage with some of those stakeholders, including the 4 Pueblos. So I'm appreciative of that opportunity and look forward to conversing more with them and thinking about how we can implement that type of framework you're referring to.
Thank you so much for both your knowledge, your expertise, and your sensibilities. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Fabulous. Related to what Commissioner Kakari Stone and your presentation is, this started out as a city project. We were brought in. This is great. We were integrated. Fabulous. You're on board. Even better. I'm wondering, are we making an intentional effort to bring the Pueblos in? Because if we're talking about the Pewaukee Basin Regional Water System, and even if we're not talking about Pewaukee Basin Regional Water System, but we're talking about Santa Fe County just as a whole, they should be incorporated in either with a seat at the table or a very intentional effort to understand their perspective and to have consultation every time. Honestly, right now, every time you're meeting with the city to discuss these things, the Pueblos should be there in an advisory position.
Chair Green, thank you very much for the comment, and that's something we've definitely pondered as well, and we're very early on in the process, so this has really kicked off, especially the last few months with developing our initial planning materials, assumptions that we're working off of, and so initially we've taken the mindset of trying to go stakeholder by stakeholder to engage on a more one-to-one level so we can kind of dig into how the county is looking at the different adaptation strategies and evaluation criteria initially. And then I think ultimately, once we've done our rounds, and one of those would definitely be the Pueblos as well, we could kind of come together as a unit to discuss where there is overlap, where there is not overlap, and then work through those frameworks at that time. So I think it's definitely something we're going to have more conversations about, and I would definitely be interested in doing that, and that's kind of my mindset of how I've initially forecasted this project evolving. So I think as of now, we've spoken to the City of Santa Fe, of course, our Water Policy Advisory Committee, and we're actively working with them now and have meetings scheduled this week as well as at the next Water Policy Advisory Committee to discuss those. And I think the next one would be the Pueblos as well, to hear from them and factor in their perspectives in the materials we've developed already, because they still are draft materials, they're not finalized. And so we want to take into account all those stakeholders and then share our more refined version with the consultant to begin the modeling effort.
I would recommend earlier than later. There's no draft without consultation, right? The first step is, here we are, can we inform our draft from having reached out to you? And I would think that, you know, it's probably a wall, a very large wall of every stakeholder. And so the first level is city, county. Okay, those are the big jurisdictional beasts. The second level is the Pueblos, because they have sovereign water rights. The third level, I would say next below that, would be all of the mutual domestics that are not dependent on us, but definitely inform our supply and demand and systems aspect to this, and that we should have a outreach letter informing them to get them excited about this. All of our acequias, because at the end of the day, those are waterways as well. And so every acequia, they are a stakeholder in this, right? You know, they have water rights just like we do. There's our surface. We have surface and groundwater. Every single one should be on a list of stakeholders. Now, whether you sort of rank them and prioritize them, but you have to know who to talk to, make sure you have an established contact thing. And these people are pretty smart, and they know their water system better than we do, and they should be probably, you know, asked about their input early so that they know what we're doing and they know how to engage with us and if they're ready. So not just the Pueblos, but everything that has some water right attached to it.
Chair Green, thank you for that comment. And it is still very early in the process, so I think we are definitely capable of doing that. So that's definitely something we would be interested in doing. And I think initially we wanted to at least provide a rough draft of materials, so that way we had talking points and things to work off of, rather than approaching our stakeholders without having produced any notable documents that showed that we had invested the time and energy into thinking about it ahead of time. So I think we just took that approach, but either option could work depending on your relationship with the stakeholder.
If you need, I offer, and if you would like to present to every tribal council, just to get it on their radar, right? They may decide that we're not ready per se, but just to know that we're thinking in those terms, I think they'll appreciate. It's always, especially with the Pueblos, it's always better to reach out early and then let them decide when it's appropriate, and just keep them up to speed. You're always late. We're always late. If we're only getting to think about this now, we're late, right? Another question I have about this is like, are we looking at an aquifer study? Are we looking regionally to look all around the county at aquifer levels, like trying to get, you know, how many wells have run dry? How far has the water level gone down over the past, whatever, 10, 20, 50 years? To just start to understand, oh dear, our groundwater is in this situation.
Chair Green, that's a great point, and we actually had a meeting last month. That was a joint meeting with the City of Santa Fe County staff, as well as the New Mexico Bureau of Geology and Mineral Resources. And so they have state funding probably this fall to do some aquifer mapping in the Santa Fe County region. So that would include the City of Santa Fe, Pueblo areas, as well as county utility areas, but also mutual domestic areas. And so that was a meeting that we had last month, and we discussed that opportunity, and everything is moving forward, and we should do that this fall. And so they're using airborne electromagnetic surveying. So I think it's a newer technology, or at least a lot of improvements have been made to it to really try to do that subsurface mapping in an accurate manner. And so they were sharing some of the details about that process. And so it seems like a state-of-the-art way to do that aquifer mapping, so we can better understand our groundwater and well health for some of those particular ones that you referred to are drying up.
That's fabulous, because I think every single one of them should be mapped and given the opportunity to engage, to understand what they're looking at. Another concept that I'm wondering if we look at, over my tenure here on the board, we raised our fee in lieu for water rights. We raised it from whatever, $19,000 to $35,000. But again, that to Commissioner Bustamante's point, that's paper water, right? And so if somebody's delivering paper water, but paper water is only worth this year in Rio Grande deliveries 30%, are we looking at possibly discounting paper water and really going to a whole nother level, or any water right transfers, and saying, you know, $35,000 doesn't get you there. $35,000 at a 30% discount basically means that an acre foot is not $35,000, it's $100,000. Is that something that we are ready to start to look at, discounting things based on climate change?
Chair Green, I think that's a really interesting thought, and it's something I've thought about as well, just in a preliminary sense. But I think Santa Fe 2100 would probably help us sharpen our thoughts as to whether we could do something like that. I don't think there's anything immediately on our timeline to do that now. I think Santa Fe 2100, based on what those climate uncertainties would look like, would really help inform that. And then over the coming years, it's something we could really consider as to how we're valuing wet water rights and what the price of those are versus what the paper water rights, which are what we're currently using at the moment when we're pricing in that $36,000 per acre foot number moving forward.
Great, thank you. The concept of discounting has been bugging me for the past few weeks, and it's good to know that you're thinking in those terms as well. You know, also to Commissioner Johnson's aspect of a Blackwater project or a feasibility study, I wonder if it's time to start, you know, everybody's scared of Blackwater until they try it, right? And so obviously nobody wants to drink poop, but everybody wants to drink clean water. Other communities I've heard have tried pilot projects where they actually bottle and they give away refined Blackwater resources. And so whether, I don't know what the scale of this would be, but like when we need bottled water for Via Vista or for our own events up here, it would be great to say, here, try this. And you go, wow, this is fabulous water. Well, guess where that came from? Oh, well, okay, right? And it's like how to bring the concept into social norm as opposed to social opposition, and don't do it when it's too late. Start the process in 3 to 5 years from now so that 15 to 20 years from now, we've been drinking Blackwater forever, right? It doesn't seem like, yeah, like start to move it into our consciousness.
Chair Green, I really like your thought process because I think I'm envisioning a situation where coordinating with outreach for our county and this probably the sustainability division as well, thinking about some of those outreach and education initiatives, because like you're referring to, Blackwater is one type, but there's also produced water from oil and natural gas byproduct water. There's, of course, also treating brackish water from the aquifer beneath us, which is a mixture of fresh and salt water. So there's a lot of different alternative water supply sources that I think what you're getting to is they might not be too enticing for a lot of constituents now, but if we could have those outreach and sustainability education initiatives that are more of an interdepartmental effort over the foreseeable future, hopefully that could help improve that mindset that a lot of our constituents has and open up an opportunity to really optimize our water resources and alleviate some of the constraints through this alternative source of water.
Because that's the answer to, you know, that's a relatively closed loop. And, you know, to Commissioner Bustamante, the commitments letter, I think we need to have that hardcore down to understand what we've committed to, what the city's committed to, what other jurisdictions are in this space, so that we really understand, you know, to Commissioner Hughes's thing. Do we need, right? Could we have more hookups? Oops, we can't have more hookups because we're overcommitted. So do we have to have people abandon their entitlements in order to reapportion those commitments to other more suitable projects here? And then lastly, at some point, more to the return flow pipeline and all of these other things that the city's talking about in their 2100 plan. But I'm going to get a presentation on the return flow pipeline at BDD next week. So I'm not so worried about it here, but I know it's on your radar.
Chair Green, yes, that's absolutely right. I think the return flow pipeline project will be a great presentation to listen to, so that way the county is even more informed on this city effort that we obviously have a 7% stake in. So definitely look forward to that as well, and I will listen to that in addition. And I think in terms of the water commitments, I know in my presentation last month, one of the exhibits that was a spreadsheet laid out what those commitments were existing so far and looking forward as well. And so I did have that included, and I would be happy to share that with you as well. I do not have the city of Santa Fe's commitment, but I can reach out to the contacts and relationships I have there to acquire that, and I'm sure they'd be happy to share with it, and I'd be more than happy to share the counties to them as well.
I'd love it, and if you want to save some time, Commissioner Bustamante would probably, and I would make time to sit with you to sort of really make sure that we feel confident with it. Thank you. Thank you. This is great. I do want to invite you to two different things, and this may be for Travis as well. Please start coming to BDD, right? I think there's something for you to learn from the relationships there and to have a relationship with the BDD operators and to understand from the city and Las Campanas and the dynamic that works at that organization. And then also the Pojoaque Basin Regional Water System, the Northern Pueblos tributary meetings that are monthly, just a month, it's a couple hours. But over my tenure, we went from Santa Fe County would show up for a 30-minute conversation and be sent out of the room, to now we're actually invited and we stick around for 2 to 3 hours while we hear the dynamic of the 4 Pueblos whose meeting it really is, but we're an invited guest to be a part of that. And I think you'll learn a lot about the dynamics of that room as well.
Chair Green, that sounds great. I'd definitely be interested.
Yes, I can see your tail wagging at the offer, so that's great. Thank you so much for this presentation. Any further comments, commissioners? Commissioner Kokari-Stone? Excellent.
No further comment. It was terrific. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you. All righty. We are on to items from the county manager.
Thank you, Chair Green and commissioners. First, let's just want to confirm for commissioners as well as staff and the public that we are scheduled for a joint meeting of the governing body of the City of Santa Fe and the Board of County Commissioners this Thursday at 1 p.m. here in the Commission chambers. The agenda and proposed agenda and packet materials prepared by staff to include results of the pre-meeting survey completed by city councilors and county commissioners responding to the survey were posted and available on Diligent Community as well as the city's own public-facing agenda management platform since last Friday. Secondly, the Santa Fe County Fair begins tomorrow and will continue through Saturday, August 1st at the Santa Fe County Fairgrounds. Admission is free for all attendees. The fair is one of the Santa Fe County's longstanding community traditions, showcasing the hard work and talent of our residents through youth livestock exhibitions, agricultural displays, indoor exhibits, arts and crafts, and a variety of family-friendly activities. So I encourage all residents and visitors to attend as well as individual commissioners and others. I wanted to especially acknowledge work of Daniel Fresquez for promotional videos that he produced with child exhibitors at the fair. Those videos not only highlight Daniel's talents and value to the organization, but more importantly, they really highlight what the value of participating in these pursuits are to the youth who will be presenting at the fair, as well as underscoring the tremendous amount of effort that they put into preparing themselves to present, whether that's livestock, agriculture, what have you, at the fair. So I did ask Daniel to pull up, because if you haven't seen them, I think that you'll greatly enjoy them. One such video, which again, we've been broadcasting through a variety of social media and other outlets. Go ahead, Daniel.
Nico Barella. I've been to the fair 3 times, including this year. My favorite part of the fair is being with my friends and just having fun with them, walking around, and just enjoying the experience. The most difficult part of the fair is preparation for a show, because you have to do so many steps to show your animal. I would tell them about the experiences there, like seeing friends, family, showing the animals, hands-on experiences also with the animals. It's a very unique thing.
So thank you for that, Daniel, and again, thanks to all of the participants in the upcoming fair. That's all I have. Thank you, commissioners.
That was amazing. If we can have some of the show animals come through here at our next meeting, I would invite them. Please, thank you, County Manager Shaffer. Commissioners, items from the commission. Who wants to go first today? Go. Yeah, please, Commissioner Bustamante.
Thank you, Chair. So, as stated earlier, I did just get back from NACO, and we passed some good legislation out of the Environment, Energy, and Public Lands Committee, of which I sit. So I wanted to make sure that I mention those to you all. One of those bits of legislation actually isn't as big of an issue in Santa Fe County as it must be in other states, because we have had a lot of cooperation with at least the state, but at the federal level, this particular legislation says that the feds will work with the municipality or the county, work with us if we find PFAS, and that the county itself wouldn't be held liable. So that was good, because it's essentially saying that the federal government will work more closely with the local governments and keep the liability off of the county, because we're just passive receivers of that stuff. That's where it's technically called the stuff now. Infrastructure through permitting reform, I think that says enough. I don't know how much federal permitting people do in New Mexico, but just looking for ease in permitting, which also, and this hugely impacts, and this is actually where it impacts us the most, is the NEPA process. The NEPA process, in a lot of ways, and having worked on the NEPA and at a national laboratory, is sort of silly, because all you have to do is say, yes, there will be gray horned owls killed over there, and we'll lose this particular population of X. All NEPA requires is that you state it. It doesn't require that there's anything to be done or anything about it. But essentially, the request is to have, again, a more collective work on the NEPA and the Clean Water Act and the endangered species, so that it's more streamlined, and let me see, I'm trying to find a synopsis of it. It's about common sense permitting reforms that would say that we're actually protecting the environment as well as protecting the development. There were people who are very much more interested in seeing the whole NEPA requirement go away. But I do believe that it hits some middle ground on, yeah, but we're not just going to throw our hands up in the air and say there doesn't have to be a federal review, either for NEPA or CERCLA. The next would be the Water Resources Development Act. I have to say that I don't have a lot of information on that. The other that is something that would be of our interest is the increased funding for clean water and drinking water state revolving funds. So that passed, and it's to increase the amount of money that comes out of that. And the other was a support balanced renewable energy development in farm country. And it was sort of, it's a very stealthy, kind of keep my neighbors from putting up wind farms type of conversation. I wouldn't have a whole lot more to say about it, except that it left with me with questions, you know, balanced, and then the wind farm conversation was let loose. So those are a few things out there that experienced in New Orleans, but also to see that the city, the last time I was there was almost 30 years ago. Is that fact? Oh, gosh. For Katrina, and it was a horrible experience, and I was very much not looking forward to seeing the place, and I literally told every taxi driver or Uber driver, wow, it's really bounced back. And that's really pretty great about it, that shows that by investing into the community, it really was, it's if not better than what it was before I went, before Katrina. The other part of it, though, is that I understand that the Ninth Ward has not been, I won't say reclaimed, hasn't been improved. And I had a brief conversation with the chair about, you know, yeah, but what do you do if then you gentrify it? And I think that what I appreciate about Santa Fe County is we don't improve things to the point where people can't any longer live where they are. If they're going to really have a question about improving the Ninth Ward for the people who live on the Ninth Ward, and I'm sure there are more complicated aspects to it or it would have already happened, then work with the Ninth Ward people to get the place built up for them again. That I leave there. And then the last question I have for whoever will answer it, from a constituent who picks up the dead animals on your street. She contacted the animal control. They said, we don't pick up dead animals. She contacted the sheriff's department. They said, well, animal control, but then they don't pick up dead animals. And then she called the city, and the city said, we don't pick up dead animals, but then someone managed to take it away, or a coyote or something. So I leave that out there. I didn't really know. I couldn't find it. But who picks up the dead animals?
Nobody. I had a dead deer in Tsuke, and we called Game and Fish, and they said as long as it's in the road, not in the road, they just leave it there for wildlife to return to the world.
Huh.
Yeah, it gets nasty in the summer.
So if it's in a residential area, which this woman was by the golf course area off of Airport Road, just leave it dead in your street. That's not a public health.
Yes, it seems like a public health issue, but
It is.
at least in the rural areas, maybe in the city it's slightly different, but certainly within the rural areas, Game and Fish said if it ain't interfering with traffic, let the animals take care of it.
Rural's fine, but it really leaves a lot of questions for our urban folks if there's a dead animal on the road.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Bustamante. Commissioner Hughes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few things just to mention. I attended last week a presentation by the city's landlord project. I guess it's the city county they're proposing that would help homeless people connect to landlords with some incentives, such as setting up a little fund on the side that would pay for damages that people created and case management. So that was last week. I'm not sure how far along the city is with that, but perhaps we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. I know Commissioner Green and I both attended the Recovery Center's soft opening on Wednesday, which was very interesting. It's a very beautiful building, so I hope it makes a difference for people who are trying to recover, to have a good place. We've been working on a road adoption policy changes to that, and I'm going to bring forward that resolution in the next couple of meetings. It's basically finished. I think we have one that everyone will agree with. Same with the reuse center resolution. Commissioner Johnson and I are working on that, and we're bringing that up at the next meeting. Also, we've been approached to do a resolution about updating the night sky rules that we have in the SLDC, and I suppose we'll bring that up. I met with Commissioner Johnson, I met with Michael Voss and the volunteer group that's promoting this, and so I think we're all in agreement on that. And finally, the lamplighter project that will be Bella Lou's project, I think it is still alive, and we're going to meet tomorrow with the group that's trying to do that. I think they found a different developer to take it on. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you. That's it.
Fabulous. That's great news. Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. As Commissioner Hughes mentioned, he and I have been working on a dark skies initiative, and I think that will be pretty straightforward and forthcoming, so just keep your eyes peeled. You know a little bit about the reuse center, and you'll see that next meeting, and we'll discuss that in more detail. I had a meeting with constituents in Ward 4, and some neighbors hosted us just south of 285, and we had a good turnout. About 30 people came, which was pretty big for a neighborhood meeting, and we talked about fire and other county services, and it was kind of just a Q&A. Nice to meet with some folks. I went out to Cañada de los Alamos to watch the community planning process for that area. Growth management staff were there, Herbert, Nate, Joseph, maybe one other I'm forgetting, but in any case, we had an interesting conversation just about what that area wants to see. I also we got into a big conversation about traffic and speeding, and I later met with Public Works, and I called the sheriff, and I'm very pleased to say that, as always, staff is very accommodating and helpful in helping us sort out some of these issues. Oh, what else? We had the MPO, a number of us are on that board. We adjusted an allocation for Santa Fe Trails and for the NCRTD, which primarily serves the county. And both representatives of those organizations regularly meet with each other and come to MPO, and it seems like a new day has dawned for relationships between those groups, which is great. What else? When did we meet? 13th. I think that may be it. Thank you, Chair. Oh, I think all of us have met with HDR, the consultant for the the Power County-owned electrical utility study. If you haven't, I would encourage you to. I met Commissioner Bustamante, and I had a joint meeting with them. I had a lot to say, and I think it was productive, but I'm looking forward to that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Kukari-Stone.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Great.
Yes.
Yes, I'll be brief. And I just want to say that I was able to attend part of NACO. And right now I'm doing my county duties, but I wanted you as commissioners to know, I've let the county manager know and Olivia know that I have elderly parents who have been in a personal health crisis and due to late stage Alzheimer's, but I'm still standing strong and doing duties, but I'll be brief because these things come first. Family comes first. I just want to mention NACO was good in a lot of ways, mostly to get updates on the Office of Management budget, uniform guidance changes that are happening. And basically, I will provide some more detailed notes to the county manager and Leandro and community services, which it impacts greatly. But at the drop of a hat, starting October 1st, and the public comment period really isn't going to matter. So NACO's coming together across party lines to support the fact that we're saying no to the uniform guidance changes. They can cut any federal funding anytime they want. They will also use federal judges to determine, basically, if there's whistleblowers, the federal government will represent people. So if for some reason someone said the county was serving particular classifications of immigrants and we're not supposed to, county funding could be cut and we would be taken before a federal judge. There are some serious, very concerning changes, and I think we need to stay on top of it. NACO's on top of it, so I think it's important to stay strong. New Mexico County stay strong with NACO, that we push back on this. The other workshop I participated in, which directly impacts the working group that Senator Trujillo has on early childhood and child care implementation in Santa Fe County, based on the governor's universal child care, was a working group with other counties and what they're doing. And basically they were reframing child care as economic development for the county. I will share notes with our economic development lead, Juan Torres, and others. I did a policy brief that I shared with Commissioner Bustamante as well as Treasurer Manzanares. I'm exploring with Treasurer Manzanares and talked to the county manager about the federal requirements that the banking industry that invest our monies give back to communities in a certain percent. And this could be a way to fund childcare in Santa Fe County. But looking at case examples that presented at NACO, child care was a number one for counties in providing child care for their employees. So I just want to bring that up as we're thinking about housing for our employees. How do we provide child care for our employees? On the local front, just still responding to various requests, complaints. We're dealing with I want to thank Public Works, particularly Mark Hart, who put in a side-by-side with his team and engineers response to the Watershed Association, very thorough table matrix, had to be over 20 pages long. We had a big meeting of 20 plus people about 2.5 weeks ago. But Mike Hart and them responded, trying to make fixes and amendments to the river trail and the riverbed itself, and considering around sustainability. We continue to get calls, but we still are hoping for the launch date sometime in August or early September for the opening of the trail. Vamos a ver, our team is working hard to implement it. There's very other priorities. I think Commissioner Johnson mentioned the MPO. Commissioner Green and I will continue to move forward to look at the modifications to the TIA, Transportation Impact Assessment, which the MPO provided expert analysis on, and we're looking at modifying that. Also met with growth management around short-term rentals and long-term rentals, and I hope to be buddying up with Commissioner Johnson if we align efforts here. I know you're working on some things as well. There's some other things happening with Senator Wirth on license plate recognition. Commissioner Johnson and I also have been continued since February 2025 in conversations with the Santa Fe County, the firefighters and the firefighters union. They really want to push the use of Medicus cannabis and cannabis as a way to respond to PTSD. And they approached me in early 2025 when I first started due to my behavioral health background. Those are just a few highlights. I want to thank everybody for your patience as I am joining remotely. But again, crisis management with elderly parents and a mother with Alzheimer's who needs full-time nursing care. So I'm with you. I'm here. I'm present. I'm just balancing it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kokari Stone. We wish you the best of luck with your family there. So thank you so much for joining us. And you're with us by screen and in our hearts. Okay, my turn. Okay, so first off, I want to thank staff and the county management for accommodating the meeting today. And so just so you know why we're not meeting tomorrow, our regular Tuesday BCC meeting is because tomorrow is the Pueblo of Powaque's feast day. And if you have a chance to go visit the Pueblo, they have a robust and beautiful dance all afternoon and lots of open houses to feast alongside the community. And it is wonderful and welcoming, and I encourage you all to be there. I will be there and enjoying both the dances and the hospitality of the community up there. Please take advantage of that if you can. So in the last 2 weeks, it's been busy as usual. I attended the Northern Pueblos Tributary Water Resources Association meeting, which is the 4 members of plus Santa Fe County for the Powaquie Basin Regional Water System. We discuss the progress of the water system. We get presentations from the Bureau of Reclamation. We talk about upcoming issues and discuss standing up the Regional Water Authority, which will manage the system or govern the system, and then the operating agreements that will come before us, hopefully in the next few months. So we should be prepared. These are pretty heavy lifts, and there's a lot of different discussion topics in this. And I try to go to the meetings every month and have really enjoy it. It's great. 10 days ago was community sort of a fiestas for Truchas. That was wonderful up there, and some of the folks from Truchas showed us the fire station and really appreciated the fact that Santa Fe County got them a 4x4 fire tender that has helped them reduce their ISO rating from, I think it was a 9 to a 5. And so that reduced every single person in the Truchas area's homeowners insurance rates. And that's the value of working in a community. They joked around the room. They said, "How did you get this for us? You know, Santa Fe County never gives us stuff." And this is to Rio Arriba County. And so it goes, you know, the chief up there, David Trujillo, is an old friend, and he does a great job for that community. And all it took was one ask, and then Chief Black and our county management made sure that they got the pick of the litter, and they were very thankful. So I am very thankful to Santa Fe County for making that happen. It was also Chimayo's Fiestas this past weekend. This past weekend was the Santa Fe International Film Festival's Gala. The Santa Fe County is a sponsor of the film festival, and they were very thankful and recognized us at the gala while we were there. I met with Easy Fiber. Easy Fiber is a fiber optics to the home and to the business purveyor that is entering the city of Santa Fe's area, but they are starting to talk about getting outside of the city, potentially into the La Cienega area and the Agua Fria district, but also potentially just in these near areas around the city that stretch into the county. And I'm going to encourage them to look into those areas. As I mentioned, or as Commissioner Hughes mentioned, we went to the Recovery Center. That was great to see that they will be opening pretty soon, and when they actually have the next tour, I encourage the other commissioners to go look at that. I went to the city's presentation about the Airport Road Jaguar Road Airport extension from 599 to the airport, and discussed some of the aspects of that, including preserving some of the open space and making sure it isn't just a big highway to the airport, but also trying to make sure it had trails and that the arroyos that cut across there are preserved and not just sort of culverted over. I took part in the Upper Pecos Watershed Association's event about 10 days ago. That was beautiful to see the community come together. It's pretty amazing to meet people from the Pecos Valley and to see lots of people that you know from Santa Fe that have a connection to the Pecos Valley. And so it was great to be a part of that. The city had a Fort Marcy redevelopment meeting, and I took part in that. That was great to see the $5 million that the city has gotten for the planning over there. Hopefully they'll listen to the community, but all bets are off at this point because it seems like they're pursuing some some unpopular ideas for just one single user, which seems inappropriate, but there we go. Lastly but not least, had a conversation with I went to the TAC meeting, Transportation Advisory Committee meeting, and to the, and had a debrief with the chair regarding who we're going to appoint to the Transportation Advisory Committee in the future. And I want to give a little bit of extra credit to Commissioner Bustamante for when she proposed the Water Planning Advisory Committee. She recommended that people come to this committee with knowledge and water usage experience. That's important. I recommend that we do the same thing for all of our community advisory committees, and that the TAC should have a requirement where people understand and bring some value added to the transportation industry. That could be transit, that could be trails, that could be bikes, that could be a whole bunch of different things. But the main part should not be, hey, I have a driver's license, right? That's not a standard to be qualified on. So I would hope that we can change the resolution to require some level of advocacy and knowledge in the industry. In terms of some initiatives, I've been working on the concept of a fire resiliency master plan. I recognize that Santa Fe County has a lot of issues with forest fire and wildfire, and fire in general, but we do a lot of planning in silos, and I would hope that we could create a master plan at a macro level that would talk about a 20-year horizon, that will talk about staffing at our fire departments and volunteers and wildland, talk about our infrastructure needs, our equipment needs, talk about how we could advocate at the state level for insurance policy, all of the different aspects of Santa Fe County's interface with fire. And I think that should be in one plan. Lots of work has been done. It can be consolidated into a plan, but then also put in a forward-looking document that starts to look at the next 5, 10, 20 years. Additionally, I've been meeting with growth management to talk about ADU, accessory dwelling unit regulations, and looking at how we can use that to support affordable housing or housing affordability, as well as multi-generational housing in a traditional, Santa Fe County style of making way for housing for our next generation or our last generation, and how we used to have 3 or 4 generations living in one property and extended families. And so I think the ADU regulation is a key way to do that. That's pretty much it for me, and I really appreciate us getting out of here at a decent hour. So here we are. Do we have any other elected officials that would wish to speak?
Mr. Chair, there are no elected officials online.
Well, all righty. So that brings us to executive committee, executive session. Commissioners, I don't think there is anything that we would have to come back for, so we could adjourn and go to executive session. Would you take us away, County Attorney Boyd?
Yes, Chair Green, as set forth in the agenda under item 12A, we have a discussion of a dispute regarding the potential acquisition of real property interests for the SR14 sewer interceptor from Richards Avenue to the Calibri subdivision and Oshara interconnect for discussion in closed session. And that matter would be subject to closed session discussion under the Open Meetings Act pursuant to Section 1015(1)H7, threatened or pending litigation in which Santa Fe County is or may become a participant, and Section 1015(1)H8, discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property. And with that, I request a motion from the board to go into executive session to discuss that, and if the board's sense is to adjourn following that discussion, the motion should also state that.
Thank you very much.
So moved, with adjournment to follow?
To proceed, or?
To follow.
To follow, okay.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session with no further business to be carried out today and to adjourn following the executive session. Motion from Commissioner Johnson, second from Commissioner Bustamante. Can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Hank Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Adam Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Camilo Bustamante,
Yes.
Commissioner Lisa Kakari Stone,
Yes.
Chair Justin Green.
Yes. We are going into executive session. We will not come back. We are adjourned after that. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great couple weeks.